Welcome this morning, and we appreciate each and every one of you being here. And as we know, we could be a little bit light today considering the weather. However, we are going to have some good classes. So for those of you that are here, we're looking forward to a good day. If you're interested in running for a board of directors position or anything, still see John Wayne Kessler with the nominating. What about Willie? See Willie. Now, see him with the nominating committee if you're interested in running on the board of directors or anything. We're still going to be doing our general membership meeting at noon, and we're going to be getting through all that stuff this morning. I don't think we can move that up, so it's still going to be at noon as scheduled. But first off, this morning we got Mr. Eric Hoots with Auctioneer, and he's been coming and supporting our convention for what's this 3 or 4 years now, Eric? Yep, maybe the third year, and he is a marketing whiz and genius, and he's got some good stuff to share with you. And so he also provided lunch for everybody yesterday. So let's give Eric a good warm welcome as he gets started here. I'll turn it over to him.
Check, check. All right, is that better? I have 11 out of 13 nephews, so Hoots is going to be here for a while, and we're a bunch of nuts. So just plan on when you meet us, you know what's up. I'm going to pull up Canva really quick. I was too busy talking over here about bourbon auctions and didn't get all my stuff set up. So we're going to talk about community today. I'm a former social worker. I went to Olivet Nazarene University in Bourbonnais, Illinois, and studied social work, and was super blessed to be there. It gave me a perspective on life of what social work was, and what I've learned is that social work, networking, and marketing are all kind of in this same world of you have to get out and do something and have to meet people and show up and those type of things. So social work started, I worked at a rape crisis center in Illinois where I was a legal advocate. So a perspective of things that are happening in your community that you might not be familiar with, but children, young ladies, adults are exposed to a lot of terrible things in your community. And so when charges happen against a perpetrator, and there's a victim in the case, the victim, the only way that they can really stay up to date is to go to court with the perpetrator, right? Which seems really odd. So as a legal advocate, I would go to court on my victim's behalf, take notes, come back and say, hey, this is what happened, it got continued, right? And then the next month, it got continued, and the next month, it got continued. But when a trial would happen, or a plea agreement, or a victim impact statement, I would walk that client through that situation. And so that was in Kankakee, Illinois. I was building my little personal brand in Kankakee and building that up. My wife was like, I'm never coming back. She was at Butler. She was in Indianapolis. And so I picked up, moved out in Butler, and then I worked with kids in therapeutic foster care. Another situation that's happening in your community that you may or may not be aware of is parents. There's a lot of bad parents out there. And there's a lot of amazing people that open up their homes to allow kids to come in for a short time, long time. And it's life-changing, right? And so my job as a therapeutic foster care case manager is, first of all, I was the only guy, I was the only guy that was willing to do this at the time. So I got a caseload of 31 boys that were all in foster care and that were all struggling immensely. Some were victims of abuse, some were victims of drug abuse, stuff like that. And so my life was on call 24/7. Had 31 boys in different homes, and you can imagine every weekend, every night was a challenge. So the calls started at 4 a.m. till 10 p.m. all the time, and it was kids that were struggling and they wanted them out, they wanted respite, all that kind of stuff. So 6 years of social work, and I was burnt out. I was fried, right? I don't do anything at a moderate pace. Everything I do is like 125 300 miles per hour, right? Just burning it up. And so I was burnt out, and I had been going to auctions my whole life through this. So I would go to Christie's on my lunch break because I was that burnt out. So I would leave the school, I'd run over to Christie's of Indiana in Greenwood, Indiana, and I would buy stuff. And I bumped into a girl I went to college with, and I was just telling her I'm burnt out, and she was in social work too, and her parents owned a consignment store. So then I started a moving company. We started doing that. I became a personal assistant, and this is all in social work, right? I feel like I'm still social working. So I had 2 clients, and essentially my clients just told me to do everything, right? Funny story. You guys have great stories. I have really crazy personal assistant stories. Hey, we just built this $1.2 million house. We're not happy. It's not home. We want to move. And they had just moved in, and we had help move them there. So for Naples for 3 weeks, and we moved every piece of their house. So their charger was plugged in on this lamp. We moved it over to the new house, plugged into this lamp. And so they were in Naples. They came home. Their whole house was unpacked, and they just grab a plate out of the thing and just put it in there, and the groceries were full. And so this was the kind of that like truly personal assistant, like every aspect of their life you help manage and navigate. And so that taught me servant's heart, right? And that taught me that mentality of like, we're here to serve others in this world. And I think we forget a lot about that. I think there's a challenge that people have that it's like me, and there's a lot of entitlement. But be a personal assistant and do stuff like unclog a toilet, and then also travel the country with them too, right? And so there's these levels of servanthood where you're serving on the high end, but you're also serving on the low end. So personal assistant led into working at a company, mortgage company. I did all their marketing and a lot of community relations. And so everything that I do in my business, and why I'm so proud of this conversation here, like Auctioneer, our brand is really cool. The fact that we're growing and you guys are supporting us is really cool. But this is the stuff that gets me fired up, right? Is the impact that we can make on our communities. And so many of you guys have the power with opportunities, with money, right? Because there's a lot of opportunities to support with money. And my approach is to always support. If you're not going to show up, like don't. This is not directed to anybody here, right? But if you're not going to show up and you just want to throw $1,000 at it, and you do that for 10 years, and like we ain't never got nothing from it, right? Well, you threw your name up here, right? How do you generate an experience for the people that are at these events? And yesterday, my experience is I buy you lunch, right? I spend $460 on pizzas. I wonder if I'll make that back, right? But for you guys, you had lunch on your own, and my community mind thinks, okay, well, how do I keep them here? And how do we keep them engaged, right? And so it gives a great opportunity to drop a little bit of coin, but I'm here, right? If I had spent lunch on pizza and I wasn't here, it wouldn't have as much of an impact, right? So you can throw your money at charities and stuff like that, and we're going to talk about it, and you're going, well, it never really results in anything, right? Well, I'll show you some easy ways to make it result into something. And the best part about this is like I'm going to preach at you, and you're going to be like, okay, prove it to me. And I'm going to prove it to you that everything that I have done in my life in community put me right in this room. And it's pretty spectacular. And when we get to that story, it's just beautiful, right? And you guys see these relationships like with the decades of experience that your families have, or you're just starting out and you're a young guy and you're just out there killing it. This is something that everybody can use. And if you just follow one piece of one of these ideas, I can promise you there's going to be opportunity for you. So let me pull up my PowerPoint really quick. You showing up there? Hoods. Also, you're going to know something about me. I got a touch of the of ADHD, just a little touch. And so I'm all over the place, and you might be like, I can't keep up with this guy. But just hang on. I promise it'll get better. And I'll bring it all together. So anybody have any questions before we start while I get this up? Any questions? Thanks for being here. I'm going to go to Indy after this, so we can schedule calls next week if you want to talk more about this stuff, and I am more than willing to engage your team, your employees, in talking about how to take over community marketing, because I believe in it that much that there's an opportunity. Hold on, 1 second. There's an opportunity for you guys to all go and take over your community. One thing I love, the Ford brothers, they did that in Somerset. Someone jumped over a monument in Somerset, Kentucky. That to me would have been my like mecca of sponsoring, advertising, and being like the face of that thing, right? They would have been jumping over the fountain, but it would have also said like Auctioneer, like would have had one of those things with a light on it, and so they'd be jumping over that. So all the photos of the General Lee jumping over, like I would have had that would have been my dream if I could have had that happen in my town. And so I love that weird stuff, right? And we're really weird, and some of the stuff we do, and you're going to see it. So community, right? This simplicity is not an accident. The world of marketing is going to simplicity, right? It's going two ways. It's going to clean, it's going to white. Go to Verizon, go to T-Mobile, and go to some of those websites and see what you see. It's less, right? And then if you're on your phone, it's even less than that. If you're on your desktop, it's a little less, but it might have a little bit of stuff figured in. And just look at that first two scrolls, right? The first two scrolls are just, okay, I see my brand here, and normally it's just bright and out in the open, and I scroll down, and man, it's really simple. So this might look like I did it last night. I did, right? But it's also simple. So it's simple, it's clean, and it's something to think about in your marketing, right? If you have a team in your marketing, if you farm it out, if you use Auctioneer, everything is going more simple, more clean. The algorithms are asking for more simplicity. I know there might be people out there like, oh no, we gotta, we have to do this, we have to do that, we've got to have all these different ad sets. We are so inundated with content, people can't keep up like in their mind. And so that's where this simplicity is kind of coming down. So schools, so we're gonna talk about community impact. So this year will be the first year that I won't do 60 plus events. I do, for the last 10 years, I've been doing an average of 50 to 60 different events, whether it's planning them, supporting them all the way through. I do a lot of golf outings, we'll get to that. And so events are just what I've done. Now Auctioneer, and because of a lot of you in this room, is growing, and my team is like, you can't be off the phone for 8 hours in one day. We got to get stuff done. And so my business is transitioning personally from this community where everybody sees me and I'm out and about to more focused on Auctioneer, which is a challenge. And you guys have gone through this in your business, I'm sure, online to live and some other things like that. But I still care about the community. I'm not going away. And so schools, we got blue circles. Those are things that we'll talk about briefly. The red circle is stay away, right? And I'll give you some ideas. And if you come to me and say, hey, what do you think about this? I'll ask you, like, are you going to show up? Are you going to be there? Are you going to send a team that's all dressed in nice polos and all the matching logos? If you're not, don't give them $2,500, because that value is not, you're not going to convert that value. You might think you will, or they might sell you the charity, the school, the football team, where you put your name on the scoreboard, right? Like the scoreboard is great for the local hospital and the local those other big brands that can drop 50,000 on a scoreboard. But if your team is handing out rally towels at the start of every football game, and those are branded with the school logo and your logo, you think you'll get a deal? You got a tent set up. As they walk in, you're handing out rally towels. You spent $5 grand at the start of the year, and now everyone in the town has your logo and the town logo. Someday you're going to go off into a garage, you're going to be doing a clean out, and that rally towel is going to be hanging up in some dude's garage, right? And that's the things to think about, is you can put your name on the scoreboard, you can hand out rally towels and serve that community. And then not only do the kids give their dad the rally towel, but then he's cleaning his car for the next 25 years with that one towel with the school logo, right? So those are the things that we talked about, things that we think of. So staff thank yous. COVID was a huge thing for us, right? You guys have probably in rural areas, you're gonna have smaller school districts. I'm on the HSE Foundation Board. It's a school district of 22,000 students. There's 22 schools and 3,500 staff, right? It's just a behemoth. And it's in a high net worth area, assumed to be a high net worth area. But that means that lower income people want to be in that area for better schools and better teachers and stuff like that. So there's a lot of need in this higher income area. So the staff during COVID, and we still do this, we still do staff thank yous. We handwrite a thank you from, this one is a realtor. I work with one realtor. I work with a lot of realtors, but they're auctioneers. I work with one realtor. His name is Jeff Cummings out of Indianapolis. He's a great guy. He's one of my dear friends. And so we do staff thank yous. So for the last 5 years, 3,500 staff have gotten either a crumble cookie, a free Domino's pizza, trying to think what I was thinking. Oh, a coffee. We do a free coffee so they can, for the next 30 days of their first day of school, they get a free coffee. And it's crazy. When you bring ideas and opportunities where you can take care of staff, there's rarely a sponsorship dollar that goes to it. So if you're saying like, hey, as a team, we're gonna bring $2,500 to your staff, and for you, it goes a long way when you have a school district of 120 teachers, right? When you're trying to get every teacher something and you have 35 of them, it gets really expensive. But if you got 200 teachers in your school district or something like that, there's great opportunities to buy really nice things that blow their mind, right? Teachers aren't those people that are getting appreciated every single day. And so we niche down into schools because we know that schools, they're mostly local. Those teachers are gonna live typically within 10 miles of that school. And if I hit them consistently with our branding, they'll find an opportunity, right? And so we hit them consistently with our branding. And we did the superintendent's loan, we've done principal's loans, and this is when I was at the mortgage company. Now the opportunities have come to the other side of knowing superintendents and knowing principals and knowing kind of some of those people on the other side of the staff and getting their support to come back and opportunities. That's where it really comes in, is opportunities. So staff thank yous, and I'm just gonna like spout off. If you're like, hey, stop, tell me how you went through that. I'll walk you through exactly how we do it. But this is a bunch of thank you cards we get printed in bulk. And we have, if the main owner of the company is a male, we have thank you, we appreciate you, signed in male handwriting 3,500 times, right? Because I'm not gonna drop a card of, it's clearly in women's writing. This bothers me, right? It's clearly in like an intern's writing, maybe it's, female, it's got a little heart above the dotted I, right? And then you drop my name in there, my business card. So we always want the customer, when they open that up and they see, now, okay, this is Jeff Cummings. Oh, and then that's clearly he spent the time to write this note, right? So we would take, 500 and I had buddies doing this. Everybody just signing cards. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for all you do. Crumble cookie, put it in there, right? And you guys have the opportunity. At this point, we were selling mortgages and houses on a 7-year cycle, right? You guys have the opportunity just to engage a bidder of, man, I could save some money, or I like flipping stuff on the side, and this is your staff members. I like flipping stuff on the side. Maybe I'll go check them out. Or my mom is sick, and I don't know where to even start with this stuff. So there's an opportunity like that you guys are selling not only impulse things that they can participate in next week, but also you can start building that relationship for the future. And so we did all this in mortgages and real estate, which is probably the most difficult thing to advertise in this world because of just the sheer volume of competition, right? And so thank you cards, huge aspect. If you want an idea how we did it, we still do it every year. The teachers come back, they get a thank you card, and we sponsor the back to school breakfast. You call sponsor, usually the cafeteria cooks it, and the breakfast costs us about $1.85 a person because the cafeteria. So you can feed 3,500 staff for like $2 grand, right? Like find me another opportunity where everybody can get a muffin. You can't do it at Starbucks, you can't do it at McAllister's, all that catering. And so lean on the district, right? Like you're going to support the district. Okay, I'm going to bring you money here, but how do we make this go the longest way possible? And so we'll move down to rave awards. We still do these every month. They have a portal in the school, and a teacher can get kind of an appreciation post. And then we show up with a $100 gift card. We take a bunch of photos. Teacher cries every single time, because typically when we're walking in the room with a $100 gift card, that was the day they needed it, right? And you're like, it's just $100 and a thank you card. But when they're sitting in there and they're just like grinding it out with your bad kids, and they're just like, nobody's saying thank you. And then we show up with like 10 of us and just like, you're the best. Like the impact, right? And then the social media impact, because her mom and their grandma and her sisters, they all share that. So all of our branding is not only going on this massive Facebook page that runs in a district, but now it gives us opportunities to share. And that relationship, I think it costs about $5,000 a year, and he's getting that consistent advertising, sometimes twice a month. But it's also just that, it's the consistency. He's been there, I think this will be our 6th year doing these thank yous, doing these rave rewards, and it's starting to roll over for him, right? But it's still a high, he's still in real estate. So you're still begging people to overcome the market and overcome inflation and those type of things. You guys have such a tangible product that they can purchase next week. Sometimes if you're selling, personal property and those type of things, then you have a solution that you can provide. Before the bell is a big back to school bash. So national night out and before the bells are huge. $500 goes a long way if you show up, right? Like that's the big thing, is if you're willing to show up to these places and set up a tent and buy rally towels, or we did photo booths all the time. So one of the guys that worked for me built these big pencils, and it was a big number 2 pencil, and then we put a banner across it, and then we just asked parents to come up and just take your kid's photo, right? The banner across it had all of our branding, right? These kids were mesmerized by these pencils, because they were just built out of 2x4s, painted yellow, had the little silver and all that kind of stuff. They were like, wow, that's so cool. But stand in front, take a picture. Now our branding is on 1,100 photos that were taken that night in a school district. So just again, stop me if I'm jumping around. And Dad's Club. So this is the one I'm proud of. I did all these things for kids in schools, right? I've been working with kids in schools since like 2006, but I never had my own school. So now I got my own kids, right? And so I've gone out and done things at schools in like hundreds of locations, and my kid's school is the one I ignore, right? So I wanted to start the Dad's Club, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do the Dad's Club. It's going to be a bunch of dads. And with all the security issues in schools and stuff like that, my thought was like, you got to go through me first, right? As a father, like they're gonna know that dads in this school are involved, whatever the situation is, and that's powerful for teachers too and staff, and they appreciate that mentality of dads getting involved in schools. And so we started the Dads Club. I stood with a QR code at one of the Harvest Hooplas, some crazy event, and I just invited dads to come meet me at the local pub, and let's hang out and talk about how we can impact our school. Now it's led to, we do 3 events a year. There's about 25 dads in the Dads Club, and everything is free. So you know how PTOs, it seems like they nickel and dime everything, and they're like raising money here and asking for money there. We see that our school is about 70% free and reduced where we live. And there's a lot of kids that are English is their second language, and so they wouldn't be able to come to the PTO events that are $25 a person. And so everything is free in the Dads Club. And the other cool thing is we just do high fives every time the kids leave school. So if they leave on fall break, we do a high five. When they come back, we do a high five. And my hope back in social work is some of those kids are leaving the safest place in their life, which is the school, and going home for a week. Right? And we wanted as dads to know that, hey, there's people here, man, we got your back, right? And these kids come through, man, it's just glorious. It's like it's a 7:30 in the morning, and these kids, they're kind of doing all this kind of stuff. But the dads in this club, it makes us feel so good, right? And the parents parents are waving and all that kind of stuff. If the dad drives by, we just give them all kinds of harassment. Where are you at? You're gonna show up? Those type of things. And so this is Dad's Club, free high fives. We're heavily involved in our schools. I don't really have anything to convert them on, right? I'm at Auctioneer now, it's a little different, but I involve a lot of the brands that know me and want more exposure into the Dad's Club. So HVAC companies, plumbers, insurance companies, they're happy to sponsor the Dad's Club's events that bring in 250 people to a free dance. That we just take all that money and we just dump it right back into bounce houses and snow cone machines and photo booths. They love the photo booths. And so this is Dad's Club. Al, Jimmy, Ian, and Todd. And so we've developed a little bit of board. We've gotten some money donated, but the impact that you'll make is like, that's the guy from the Dad's Club. They don't know my name. They just know I'm Everett's dad or Brody's dad, and we're from the Dad's Club. We do one other thing, and this is something you could do really simple, is get a couple of your buddies and go in and do lunch, right? Another thing that teachers, they teach all day, and then they go, and then they're in charge of keeping your kids from acting like jerks at lunch. And so they don't ever really get a break, and then they get their 15-minute lunch after that. So we go into lunch and we serve. We get out those cleaning rags and the trays, and we give the teachers the time off, and as dads, we serve our students, our staff, all of that, and it costs zero, right? And then if you do something that we're gonna talk about, if you tell your story, which some of you might see me on social media and you're like, dude, this dude loves himself. We've had 3 record months at Auctioneer. I'm gonna keep going. So if you tell your story, right? Dad's Club, my friends know this story that we started Dad's Club. Look at it as bragging, look at it whatever you want. I wanna convert opportunities. More opportunities to grow in our community, but more opportunities to, you know, how can I engage with more people, right? And so tell the story. And that's why we take pictures and videos and all that kind of stuff. Hoods, love neighborhoods, right? In Indy, we have a lot of HOAs. They're in the red circle, right? We avoid HOAs. They're gonna come to you and say, well, we've got a partnership program. It's $250 a year. And we put you on all the letters and all that kind of stuff. It's baloney. Avoid the HOAs, right? And it's a lot of politics and everybody hates the HOAs. So we do more of the community parades. A lot of these bigger neighborhoods by us, they have a Halloween parade, they have a Christmas parade. We just drop a van in there. It's a local HVAC company, just drop a van in the parade and have them throw out candy, right? Guess who asked for $0? The community's like, you're gonna show up with more candy? Just come on out, right? You don't have to give us anything. So community parades, my children in their young age have been in more parades than anyone else in the world, right? We do, I don't know, we've probably done 80 parades in the last 10 years where we're just always going to parades. And why? Because most of the parade registrations are $25. Right? It's $25 to get your branding in front of, I mean, some of the parades by us, they get 15,000 people. Even the small parade and the Somerset parade and the jumping of the car, right? There was, I don't know, 10,000 people there, maybe more. How much? 30,000 people, right? And there's parades and there's opportunities out there where someone's like, just give us enough, $25 just to like cover our costs for signage or whatever. One of my favorite tricks at a parade is go an hour early, and as people start setting up their sections, just walk along the road, have your staff just hand out the bags, right? Get your branded, those little plastic bags, and just have your brand on there and hand them out, right? Maybe it's got a business card or something like that, but so many of these families, they come with a bag, right? Or they don't. And if you walk ahead of the parade and you beat the parade by 30 minutes, you've got a captive audience that you're just handing out free bags to. And they're like, wow, these people are so nice. And the parade is like, well, that's really nice. That's less for us to clean up. And you spent $600 on bags for maybe 3 years of a parade. And so that's another opportunity. So stop me if you're like, how do I do this? But bags are my favorite things, and parades are my favorite things. Christmas parades, we get a snow machine. Halloween parades, we get a fog machine. Summer parades, we get a flag. And we get another flag. We make sure everybody knows why we're here. It's America, right? And so July 4th, we'll do, me and my family now, we just do it for fun because we love it. I just do music. You guys have big speakers. You've had them, you can buy them out around the corner. I just do music. And I just sit back and my family, we just ride in the car and you just watch people dance and just have a great time, right? So we pick those very popular songs. There's like the Black Eyed Peas, like Tonight's Gonna Be a Good Night. There's, I'm trying to think of what the Toby Keith song where he's gonna kick America, America's gonna kick him in the ass. Yeah, that one's really good, right? If you time that right and you get to the big section of people and you're playing that Toby Keith song on July 4th, you got a lot of friends, right? And your branding and your opportunity is there. So just take your speakers. You don't have to build a float. You don't have your team, create a little house and put it on a trailer and have all this stuff to do. Put your speakers in the back of your truck, fill it up with popsicles, or fill it up with candy, and go have a great time. And find the right music. That's the big thing, is if you can get the people along the way singing with you and having a great time, it's the most simple parade float that you can do. That's all I do is music, and we roll through. This is 2007, my first parade float. Love parades, I don't know why. So this is for KAA, which is the sexual assault center that I work for in Kankakee County. And we did this thing, it's a national thing, it's called Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, right? So it brings awareness. Men, women, kids, family, they all dress up in high heels and we walk down the city block, right? So you do a city block in high heels, right? It's great for awareness. It gets the bankers out of their building and starts to understand that there's things going out in our community that are appalling and we won't stand for, right? And so this is long before Me Too and a lot of other movements that have pushed this narrative even further. But that's a giant high heel that me and my dad made. And then I cut out a bunch of small pieces of yarn and I Elmer's glued leg hair onto that piece of wood at the top where that little girl's standing, right? And so I had this little yarn fur stuck to my fingers for like weeks because we were just gluing all these little tiny pieces on. And that's our first parade, right? That float cost me about 60 bucks. And it was great advertising for the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, but it was also just being creative and how can we do something that gets people's attention. And our goal here was to just bring more men to the walk, which was registrations, which also fundraised for us a little bit too. That's my first parade. This is something I'm passionate about. This is also what I love about Auctioneers is first responders and veterans. This is the primo of what we do. So every year we do a pool party. We rent out the local private club, and it's a golf club. It's got a beautiful pool. We rent it out for 3 hours. We do an open bar, which most of the officers, first responders they don't go crazy on, but it's nice to have wine and seltzers and stuff for them. And we just invite them and their families. No politics. The chief isn't working the room at this time. There's no one's talking about committees and boards. Bring your family and come have a great night on our team. And so we do the pool, we get food donated, and they come, and the best part is that all the officers, fire department and police department, they get involved in a cannonball contest. And you see hardened guys with, sleeve tattoos, and, they're just walking around like, they're the guys in town, the officers and stuff. And then they're going over the top in the cannonball contest. And their kids are all standing alongside, having a grand old time. And it's like, they put their life on the line, fire, police, they got people yelling at them all the time. They're, whatever political side you're on, I don't care. There's still a level of respect for somebody that is serving your community. And so this night at the end of August, end of July, every year we rent out that pool. We spend about $1,000 and just take care of them, right? Say thank you. We don't need anything. We don't do a lot of advertising. There's not a lot of branding, but they know who we are, right? When I got pulled over for blowing that stop sign, they remember the pool party, right? So there's some other opportunities that you can use that. It's like, oh, hey, Frank, how are you? Oh, when's the last time I saw you? At the pool party? Oh, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. It's like there's some opportunities that maybe you can get a little leniency, but it's also the impact of guys that are just getting beat on right now, men and women that are just getting beat on. Like, how can you serve them? Random drops, right? Pizza's cheap. Like, you can go to Domino's and get a $7.99 pizza, and you could probably feed most of your firehouses for $21. And it's the fact that you just stopped by and you thought of them, then what do? Tell the story. Take a picture. Right? It might seem conceited, it might seem self-serving, but take a picture and tell people, I'm doing this, what are you willing to do? Right? Or, I'm doing this for business. I'm doing this for opportunities, but I'm doing something, right? And so conceited, whatever. I'm doing something, why don't you do something? You want to call me conceited? Well, then come on over. I'll go toe-to-toe with you on supporting police, right? So if there's that thought of like, oh, this feels weird and all that kind of stuff, somebody else is going to beat you to it. So you might as well do it, right? Because someone else is going to go tell their story and tell them how great they are and all the relationship they've built. You might as well do it. Softball. So I MC the softball game between police and fire every year. I get nothing out of it personally, right? Auctioneer doesn't grow. Hoots marketing doesn't grow. I don't sign up a bunch of Google business profiles. I don't sell a lot of Facebook ads. But again, it's just an opportunity for people to see you and know you and understand what you do. And you guys have the positions to convert opportunities from emceeing a softball game, right? I'm not even an auctioneer. You guys have that MC voice. And so I just get up there, they give me a list of all their last names, and I just crack jokes the whole time, right? I'm talking crap about the fire department. I'm talking crap about the police department. And I don't do anything special. It's just the fact that we can just all have a good time. And there's an opportunity to just convert and engage and grow the brand by your personal brand, right? So you think of Gary Vee and Cody Sanchez and Alex Hermosa, I don't know how to say his last name, but all these personal brands that people are buying from, do that in your community, right? Because people are no longer buying from Tide, and they're buying from the mom that talks about how Tide helped her daughter's eczema, right? And so if you think about the opportunities here, they're changing. They're coming back to a personal brand. And Auctioneer, we did this whole like kind of corporate feel, and like we'll go to the conferences, and then we'll have a really nice website. Now that I've just been telling stupid stories, what do I buy at auction that I don't need, right? It's dumb. But an auctioneer's like, cool, he's kind of one of us, right? Because there's a lot of maybe other service industries in this business that they don't buy at auctions. And they don't really care what you buy or sell at auction. I love auctions, right? And I get put on a budget now in 2026 of what I'm allowed to buy at auctions, because I see the opportunity in everything. And so I got a slot machine in my office that I can't even talk about, because in Indiana, if you own a slot machine that you bought at an auction, or if you own any slot machine, they'll come take it. So it's ATF or excise. You can't own a slot machine in Indiana. But I love that slot machine, and I bought it at an auction. And I went to pick it up, and I didn't have the right size car, so the auctioneer hated me, right? And it's a client of ours. So there's this opportunity to like take what you do in your business every day, educate people about it, and then convert. And so I want you to keep remembering, tell the story, tell people what you're doing. The other thing we avoid is politics. I don't care who the chief is. I don't care if the chief is running for something that's coming up, like if he's trying to work the mayor. If the chief is going to cause a problem at that pool party, the chief's not invited. This is our pool party. And this is our pool party for police and fire. And if the chief is going to cause drama, or people are not going to come because the chief's there, because we know how bosses are and all that kind of stuff, avoid the politics when it comes to police and fire. Most of the time, we go to a sergeant, we go to a lieutenant, we build that relationship kind of from the C-suite down to find out what these guys are actually struggling with and what actually would be important. And what we found a lot of is just family. They just want to spend family time. And so that's where the pool party came from. We did our 4th year this year. We'll do another at the end of July, 5 years. And we have some sponsorships and stuff like that will pop up. But for me, it's just the right thing to do for police and our veterans, right? It's the right thing to do. Coins, challenge coins. When you get a challenge coin from a police, fire, or a veteran, that's the ultimate level of respect. I've got a handful of them. When you raise money or you stick your neck out, they have these, just they're challenge coins. And when they hand one of those over to you in a handshake, like, you're in, bro. You'll never get a ticket ever again in that city. No, it's kidding. But there's an opportunity that when you feel that love or respect, and a challenge coin, National Night Out, NNO, National Night Out, they happen in August pretty much every year. great opportunity. It's really, really cheap branding. I don't think they even charge for National Night Out. It's just police, fire come out, and they just get everybody out of the house before school starts. And so, great opportunity. And I would assume they're doing them in your city. Let's see what time it is. Do a lot with the state police. Great place to go with the state police is their state association and find out what are we struggling with. So our Indiana State Police, they come and work the fair every year, the state fair. And so every Friday I feed the staff members at the state fair. We still do this. It's probably 8 years. And so I show up, a bunch of pizzas. I find a sponsor, and we show up, and there's anywhere from 20 to 30 men and women, and we feed them. Fun part is at night, the night shift gets off at 11. We go to the hotel and we have pizzas again, and my favorite thing, cigars, and they might have alcohol, and we just hang out, right? We're just hanging out with troopers, letting them know that we appreciate them. When's the last time these guys have just ever had someone sit down, give them something and say thank you, and just hang out with no expectation in return? And it costs us about $1,000 for the 3 weeks. We get pizzas really cheap, we get cigars really cheap. And so this is a photo kind of in their little setup, and then the sponsor that sponsored it this year. And they're just great people, and they're so grateful, right? Like, because no one else has really said anything nice to them in the last several years, let alone like come out and just said like, I don't need anything from you, I just want to hang out and say thank you, right? So state fair, we do that every year. Charities and boards. This is where I get really passionate about money, because you probably get, some of you guys are probably getting emails every day of, can you sponsor? Can you give? Will you consider? Will you support? And then the sheet comes out, right? And it's all broken down in bullet points, and the first number is always $5,000. The first number is always 25,000, and you're like, really, dude? I don't even know you, and you're asking me for 25,000. So you scroll all the way down, and you see the one that says 250, and they say, we're going to give you a logo about the size of that period right there on our sign. And you're like, okay, I give you $250, I get a logo. It's not going to give me anything in return, but I want to support them. So then where's the opportunity? So we had a company called Noble. It's helps kids and adults with disabilities. The cool thing about Noble is that they follow into adulthood, right? And these are things to look at as sustainability of what you care about and give back to. Is, a lot of services stop at 18, but the disability didn't stop, and the challenges are even worse. Noble will follow people with disabilities into their 50s, 60s, 70s, supporting them with therapy and jobs, opportunities to learn, and those type of things. So Noble is something I'm really passionate about. And they came to us and they just said, like, we want money. I was like, well, cool. I want to develop opportunities and relationships from it. So how do we meet in the middle? And so the first year we developed kind of a carnival game, and we brought value to the company. We brought value to the community without dropping 25 grand or 5,000. We just put carnival games kind of on one side. It's a casino night. So we just made fun games on one side, and we just charge, tickets and money to get people to engage with them. And so every year that has increased. And now I'm in charge of the auction for Noble at this event. And last year we brought in Justin Kennedy, which I know a lot of you guys know. Brought in Justin Kennedy. The most they had ever raised in Fund a Need was like, I think the year before we had 39,000, and we raised 50,000 on Fund a Need this year. And this is their second year with an auctioneer. So the first year everybody's like, what is going on? Second year it's just rolling over, right? And now we're really excited for the third year, the opportunity of bringing an auctioneer in. So I've been involved with Noble for 7, 8 years. I'm on all of their committees that plan the events, and they let me do the weird stuff, right? So at that Noble event now we do cigars and bourbon tasting out on a patio, and I help handle the auctioneers, right? It costs me, the other thing, I sponsor valet because I'm a big valet sponsor. If you get an opportunity to sponsor valet, and here's my favorite little trick, you give the valet guys a keychain with your logo. Every time a keychain comes through there, they put your keychain on there, and then that's their valet ticket or whatever it might be. But what stays? The keychain, right? And so sponsoring valet at high-end galas and fundraisers is my favorite thing because they pull up. They've been coming to this event for 20 years, and now there's complimentary valet sponsored by who, right? And the perceived value of valet is so much higher than what it actually costs, which is typically about $800, $1,200 to sponsor valet. So when they ask you for $2,500, you could say, why don't I just pay for valet? Is that something you've ever done? And they're like, huh? But they're going to these nice hotels, there's parking issues, all that type of stuff. I'll sponsor valet, just put my branding all over it, talk about it. I'll give the valet company a bunch of keychains. And as they go out the door, now every car that came through that valet that day has my keychain on it. And the perceived value is really, really high. Golf outings, I do a lot of golf outings. Average about 50 a year until this past year. This past year I only did like 27, right? You ever wonder where a CEO isn't on Monday? You ever wonder? You ever wonder where that decision maker is on a Monday? There's a good chance he's at a charity golf outing, some high-end country club, and you have his undivided attention on the green for about 3 minutes. There's opportunities that come from golf outings. Most of the time, it's your brand, right? You can golf in the outing. You can golf in the outing, but if you have staff, it's really, really smart to put a staff member at a tent and whatever you're allowed to do. If you're allowed to do alcohol, we do a lot of cigars at golf outings because I can get cigars online for about $2 a piece, and we cut and light cigars at golf outings all the time now. It's turned into a little business. And actually, I'll show you. Let me see if I have that on. So golf outings. So I've taken this golf ball cannon, which is right there in the middle. Anybody seen a golf ball cannon at a golf outing? Anybody? Does anybody go to golf outings? Anybody? You're auctioneers? Okay, a couple golf outings. Not a lot of time for golf, but I'll tell you, the people that you want to connect with and the decision makers, Monday, 10 a.m., they're not late to the golf outing to support the local charity. I promise you. I have a golf ball cannon, and you can buy one. I'll tell you where to buy it. It's phenomenal. Shoots the ball about 370 yards, okay? It's PVC, and you could create one. I promise you could. It would probably cost you about $60. It won't work. Just pay the $1,100 for the one that works, right? I've learned my lesson. I'm telling you right now, pay the $1,100, get an air compressor, and send a staff member to every golf outing that you can. Because guess what? They don't charge me to show up. Because I make them money. So it's $10, $20. Some companies charge $100 to shoot the golf ball cannon. It'll go 300 yards beyond what most of these people can actually shoot the ball. And if they're having speed issues, you've solved the problem for the company or the charity that it speeds up the game. Because I can shoot a shot from that cannon that saves about 3 shots of the normal golfer at a golf outing, right? And the experience, grown men turn into children every time I'm there, right? They walk up, what is this? What is this? What does it do? Where does it go? All that kind of stuff, right? And you have their undivided attention for 2 or 3 minutes. Paint it your company colors, right? Paint it your company colors. Hire an intern. Teach them how to do it right. And send them to every golf outing. You just have your branding. If I got my tent at all these golf outings, I think that piece of plastic has raised well over $100,000 for local charities with nothing spectacular. A tent, an air compressor, and a golf ball cannon, right? And the impact. Let me tell you something. Guess who knows me in town? All the C-suite guys. Every Monday they're at golf outings. Every Friday they're at golf outings. And they're like, there's that guy again. There's that guy again. I don't even know what that guy does, but he's the golf cannon guy. I was on an airplane, one guy, hey, you're the golf ball guy. Like, yeah, I am. I go to all these golf outings, right? And it's led to opportunities. I'm in a building right now. I help manage a commercial building. It came with tons of opportunity. I own a co-working space, about 17,000 square feet in a commercial building. Not only do I have my own office, but I rent out all these other private offices. And where did it come from? A golf outing. Guy was just like, man, I see you. I see you. I see you. Then I saw him at a cigar shop. Then he saw him at a golf outing again. Then I saw him at that golf club. And he's like, hey, don't you do a lot of stuff? Yeah, I do. I got some furniture at my building that you can move my furniture. And now it's my office. And now it's a huge opportunity for us as revenue. And it all came from just standing on a golf course, on a green. Hire a college kid, put your son out there. Whatever it might be, there's an opportunity to get golf outings. So that's Lizzie on the other side from Noble. We raise about $1,300 in cash at the golf outing every year, and then there's a generous sponsor that donates it. So on my hole, we'll use that golf cannon, and it'll raise about $2,600 for PVC and special golf balls that go straight when they fly. That's the other trick. I didn't read the instructions at the beginning, and so every golf ball was going 18 different directions. Called the guy, I'm like, this thing doesn't work. Did you read the instructions? Because you got to use a Polara golf ball because they have a dimple pattern on them to make them go straight. And now that thing, I tell you, I put a bucket down at the end, 300 yards away. This year I had a 416 was my furthest drive on that golf ball cannon. Children, these grown men turn into children when they see the ball go that far, that fast. And then when they get up there, they're jumping up and down. They're standing on top of their golf cart, whipping it around, having a good old time. And your branding was there. And it's the right people. Because most of these people are paying. This is what I always say. If someone's willing to pay $500 to golf on a Monday, I want to know them. Right? And you do too. Yes, sir. Woo, no, it goes straight. And that's why I didn't read the instructions, because that Polara. Nope. I'm telling you, I put a bucket out there, and it lands within about a 10-yard radius of that bucket all day. Right? It's just a heyday. So the highest I ever did was maybe like 60, 65 golf outings in one summer. And I was charging for it because people saw the value. And I was like, well, I know you're going to pull in 300 grand on this golf outing. Like you can skate me $1,000 to come out and raise you 2,000. And so there is an opportunity to make money in your business. What I would recommend is you buy one or you do something at a golf outing and you just bring it. And you just support them and you serve them. Right? And if you bring something that's going to make them money, a lot of times that cash sponsorship goes away. And so if you don't like paying $500 to be there, give them some value. That's $500 to $1,000 that you're willing to do. You know, if it's selling something, if it's giving something away, cigars. So my brother called. He runs a Christian camp up in Sandwich, Illinois. There's a Sandwich, Illinois. A little postage stamp on the map. He said, hey, I got this old like World War II trailer or war trailer or something. I don't know what to do with it. Do you need anything? Like, dude, I need a cigar trailer called the Smoke Shack so I can take it to golf outings, right? So he popped this thing up. Dude's a genius, right? I could never do this. It would never. The only time I get scared is it's pretty tall. When I go around roundabouts in Indy, that thing gets a little wonky, right? That little tire starts leaning, and I'm like worried if that set of tables falls over, this thing's just gonna flip, right? But this is called the cigar wagon. This is called the Smoke Shack. And now people pay us to bring cigars out and cut and light cigars before golf outings, right? You got an old beat up enclosed trailer. You're trying to figure out what C-suite guys love on Monday mornings because they paid $500 to be there. They love cigars. And you can go on Cigars International, you can go on cigars.com, and you can buy packs of cigars for, $2 a piece. And the perceived value is 11, 15, 20. You're giving away free cigars. If you really want to ramp it up, you put a lighter. If you really want to ramp it up, you put matchbook. If you really want to ramp it up, you put a cutter. So you're like, man, I got $5 into these guys, and I know they're all the right guys. They're decision makers in their companies, at their warehouses. They paid $500 to be here on a Monday to support a charity. I wonder if they're a good client for me. Bet you they are. Right? And I'm proving it over and over and over. And that's where that confidence comes in. This has been 12 years working on this community brand, and it's starting to come to fruition. And I think the challenge is keep showing up. The challenge is keep showing up. And that's our Dad's Club mantra, is when there's only 3 dads there because everybody else forgot, we keep showing up. When there's 1 dad there, keep showing up. Then there'll be 20, keep showing up, right? So this is my old brand. When I came to the auction industry, I was at Hoots Marketing, right? I have a great last name, so I love using it. I have it on my license plate. It's when you're a kid, it's a weird last name. Everybody makes fun of you. Everybody's like, oh, you don't give a hoot. Heard it. What's the other? Like, everything is Hoots. Like, hoot hoot or whatever. Heard them all. Hooters. Heard them all, right? But now it's my brand, right? It's kind of like, it's just Hoots. I don't really know what he does. I don't know where he came from. I don't know much about the guy, but that's just Hoots, right? And so Hoots Marketing, we're out there hustling. I left the mortgage company, a really powerful piece of all that. I got sober. Then I left the mortgage company. And after I stopped drinking, my life has gotten so much better. And that was a huge piece of all of this, is like I was spiraling out of control with all these events because I go to 60 golf outings a year. What do you think happens at golf outings? There's a lot of alcohol. And the best part about it was I could get there early. About 8 a.m., I'd start drinking, right? 60 times a summer. First of all, what do you think happened to my relationships? What do you think happened to my liver? And then one day I just looked up and I figured, man, I lost myself. I'm out here serving communities. I'm out here changing lives. I'm out here giving and donating and raising $100 grand with a piece of PVC. But my wife hated me. I love her dearly. My kids didn't know me. And it was all in the name of raising money and taking care of community and all that kind of stuff. And I don't do anything at one level. I don't do anything small. And I didn't learn that until sobriety, is that I do 125% at anything I do. Auctioneer, right? It was Hoots marketing. When we changed to Auctioneer, you guys are like, where did this dude come from? Right? Because we don't do anything small. And alcohol was the same thing for me. I'm at all these community events. I'm doing all this networking. I'm doing dinners and late nights. And if you know anything about real estate, not auction real estate, but real estate, they don't like to work too much. Like drinking at lunch for a realtor is not like uncommon. And these are like real realtors, like the ones that drive you absolutely insane on a deal, right? They just like to hang out. And so I had the opportunity just to hang out and drink all day. So I got sober. 2021, I left the mortgage company after that and started Hoots Marketing. And it was just, I've learned a lot. I was spending 6 to 7 figures every year on marketing, and I saw all the stuff that didn't work. The stuff that everybody sells you on that didn't work. What we believe in is Google Business Profile. Get reviews. Send an email. Send a text. Post on your social media, right? That's what we believe in. We spent money on the retargeting. We had a $130,000 billboard campaign going. We had, man, I think we were paying those people $50,000 a month for WTHR, right? We spent all the money. We started getting Google reviews. The phone started ringing. It's like, holy, like we just hired Jeff Saturday to be our spokesperson. He was the center for the Super Bowl Colts that won. We just hired Jeff Saturday to be our spokesperson. I just got 6 Google reviews and the phone started ringing. The phone never rings for Jeff Saturday. It rings when it's local search of mortgage company near me. And then what do? They pick the top one with the most reviews and the highest stars. If you answer your phone, you got a really good opportunity. If you don't answer your phone, well, they're just gonna go down the line. And the next guy is gonna get the deal, right? So Hoots Marketing was all local marketing, community marketing, helping. I did a lot of golf outings, advocated for that, but I don't know. Am I late? Am I on time? Okay. I don't know. I think we started late. Let me stop here, and this is how Auctioneer came to be. So we did an event. My buddy took me out. He was with the National Guard, and when we exited, I think it was Iraq. It was with Biden, and everybody just jumped on planes and left. Right? It was catastrophic to veterans that had been there and had fought and lost buddies and had lost arms and legs and mental capacity when they were over there. And so guys were just killing themselves because we left Iraq and everything that they had fought for, the suicide rate spiked, especially in the National Guard and the Reserve. It spiked. And my buddy came down. He's like, man, I'm just struggling. He's a National Guard man. His name's Chris Garlander. I'm just struggling. I'm watching all my guys. Like, it's like, watch our men, right? Like, that's the mentality, is watch our men. Like, if they're struggling, let's text them. If they're having a rough week, let's take them hunting. If they're struggling, let's take them fishing. So all this came out, and I'm a doer, right? So I'm thinking, okay, let's raise some money. Let's get money into these guys' hands so they can go hunting, so they can buy that, that tool that they need to do some woodwork. And so it's called Watch Your Men. We did cigars. We keep coming back to cigars. We rented out a cigar lounge. Somehow I got Fuzzy Zeller to come to the event, and it was one of the tournaments that he was famous for winning back in the day. And so he came, just sat on a bar stool and talked. We thought we were going to raise about $5 grand. The night before, Peyton Manning was in town. He had Sweetens Cove. I don't know if you know this. It was Peyton Manning bought a distillery, and he had this brand called Sweetens Cove. Well, everything in India, if Peyton Manning puts a stamp on it, people go freaking bonkers, right? Because he's just the king bee. And so he was releasing this Sweetens Cove, and he was at a location, and we had Jeff Saturday, so he called Peyton and said, hey, I got a guy that's got 6 bottles of your liquor that's not even released. Would you sign him? And so he signed the 6 bottles, and we brought him over the next day to this charity event. We're raising money to have, guys and women stop committing suicide. And so we're going over there. We're thinking we're going to raise about $5 grand. We raised $30,000, dude. Everybody's like, what happened? These bottles were going for $3 grand a piece. And I drank one before I stopped drinking, and they ain't worth $3 grand a piece, man. It was like young juice that made your throat burn. I'm like, oh God, but someone paid $3 grand because it was signed by Peyton, right? And so we raised all this money, we did all this kind of stuff, and that was Chris Garlinger, and he brought that to me. And we had this bond after that and just friends, and he's always looking out for me. He called me one day and he's like, hey man, I got a buddy. He owns an auction company. And I'm an auction buyer, right? My whole house is auctions. My garage is auctions. Like I buy auctions forever. But Don Smock was equipment auction. Like I got a buddy, Don Smock Auction. So if you know Nick Smock, he's a great guy. Dad started the company. And I don't know, he needs help with auctions. So I go in, and I already know auctions, right? I don't know equipment auctions, but I know estates and personal property and those type of things. And so he starts telling me his marketing, and I'm like, wait a second, are all auctioneers like this? And he was like, every single one. And so that's what turned into Auction Sphere. And so as I'm raising 30 grand for National Guard members to stop killing themselves, we put all these pieces together. I built a relationship with Chris Garlinger, Sergeant Major, who also was wounded overseas, and saw the opportunity. And he brought me Don Smock Auction as a referral, an opportunity. I saw an opportunity because we're all hustlers in here, right? We're like, is that how you handle all those things? Because I've got something I can handle a lot better and do it a lot easier. And so that's what started Auction Sphere. And so everybody's like, how'd you get into auctions? I've been going to auctions my whole life. My dad would take us on a Saturday. He'd spend $3 and we'd stay there 8 hours, right? And he's the kind of guy that the auctioneer's right here. I mean, he's standing right in front of the auctioneer like he's going to spend, right? And he doesn't, right? You might get 1 or 2 out of 50 cents, $1. Right? He's that kind of guy. I did a podcast with Sean Terrell for United Country, and I told that story, and my dad called me. He's like, dude, I went to an auction today. I stood there all day, and I spent exactly $3. And it was on the same day I did this podcast. And so we didn't have a TV. I was raised Baptist. We didn't, we couldn't have a lot of fun. So we went to auctions. We people watched. And so I just been going to auctions my whole life. So I find out that auctioneers, you guys went through COVID, and some of you are really bad at digital marketing. And so, before that, you might not have needed someone like me to post on your Facebook and send your emails and all that kind of stuff. When COVID happens, you have to go live overnight. I show up in 2022, and there's opportunities here, right? And it all came from just National Guard. They're struggling. How can we help? How can we use your connections in the community? We raised 30 grand. I build a friendship. He introduces me to Don Smock Auction. I'm standing right here. How crazy is that? You know what I mean? That's what all these things are. And so I just want you to remember, there's one thing. I got one slide at the end because all your community work. Oh, maybe I don't have one slide. Let's see. I don't know if that was one of my personal systems. Oh, here it is. I skipped it. So I'm just going to leave it right there. Create value. You don't have to give them money. A charity has never asked, hey, what can we actually do for you? Right? I know you want 25 grand, but what can I actually do for you and your staff? How can we support that gala and make it better? Right? Create value. It's not all about just writing checks. If you're going to write a check and not show up, expect the same in return. So don't be mad and don't blame it on the charity because you didn't show up and you provided no value. You wrote a check, your logo got put right here. Everybody came into the building, there was 400 seat event. You think anybody cares about that logo? But what if you did valet? What if you did a tasting bar? What if you did an ice sculpture on the bar? You could spend about $700 on night sculpture and have your logo branded into a thing where they pour the alcohol and it goes through the ice sculpture and it comes out the bottom in a cup. That's an experience. And what do? They stand there and just look at your brand the whole time. So if it's the right place, the right people are there, do something more, right? Spend a little bit more time. Your guys' insurance trophy, right? That's a perfect example of bring more value. Like they could throw more money at the association and, here's a sponsorship. But they bring that Kentucky trophy over in the corner and you remember it. And they take a picture and then someday you want your name on it, right? Provide value and then tell the story, right? Take a selfie, take a video. When you see my videos, just know the only reason I'm doing them is because they work. And it's getting me more opportunities and making me more money. And that's what I know this room's all about. I want opportunities. I want to make more money. I want to take care of my family. Repeat. Opportunities, make more money, take care of my family. Repeat. I'm here for the same thing. Great value. Tell the story. If you're not going to pick up the phone, you're not going to do a video, you're not going to take a photo, if you're not going to do an interview, if you're not going to do a recap, don't spend the money. Just stop. If you're not willing to tell the story, just stop because it has no value and you can't hold weight on that if you don't tell the story. So I'm passionate about that. And that's just because I'm a marketer, but it's also because it works. I've been telling my story over and over and over. Chris didn't really know what I did in marketing at Hoots Marketing, but he saw my videos talking about marketing, and that's what pinged his mind of, I got Don Smock Auction, he needs help marketing, right? And so I wasn't just selling Chris all the time. Create the value. Don't just write a check. Create the value. What can you do for that 400-seat gala that's something different that they've never seen before? And why is it here? It's because of us. The opportunity is here because of us. Create the value, tell the story, repeat. Just do it over and over. You do 60 events this year on top of your 150 auctions. What? You guys, you can handle it. Events to us are just like we do them in our sleep, putting up tents in our sleep, having a crowd of people in our sleep, right? So there's nothing scary about events to you guys because you do them every weekend, or you have. Create the value. Tell the story. You're not going to tell the story, don't do it. Save your money. Use social media to tell stories about what you're doing in the community, who you're impacting. Teachers, police and fire, veterans, charities, and then there's boards. You get a lot of opportunities from being on boards. So if you have charities in your local area, get on a board. All right, if you have any questions, I'm going to be here for about 15 minutes. Then I'm going to Indy. Just go hang out with my family and be snowed in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys have changed our opportunity. Thank you.
All right, if y'all want to be gathering back in, I believe it's about time to crank off with the next session. Once again, if you're interested in running for a board of director position or anything, see John Wayne Kessler. And we will be having our meeting at noon. But our next session here is going to be building an equipment or a profitable equipment portfolio by Mr. Andy White. Andy, he has certainly been a successful bid caller and successful auctioneer for a long time, and he has won the IAC as well as the WLAC and the World Automobile. So he's a Triple Crown winner, and we're certainly pleased to have Mr. Andy White here. He's a super good guy. I've got to know him this weekend, so let's make Mr. Andy feel welcome as we start our next session here.
Check, check. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Good to see a lot of, good to see several of you back, and yeah, a few of us slept quickly, so it's always good to be a part of these associations. You guys have always treated me extremely well, and Will made it sound like I do this quite a bit, and you know, there for a long time, I guess I did give several seminars, but you guys actually brought me out of retirement. I think it's been probably 4 or 5 years since I've done this. And so I will give you a hats off to your EO, because for some reason she had the ability to pull me out of retirement. So it's good to be back, and hopefully the rust isn't too bad, and you guys get a little something out of this. But I guess you heard a little bit of my pedigree, and to start with, I've been in the business 24 years, and first generation auctioneer. Got into this, no idea what I wanted to do, no direction, but just kind of failed out of college, or socialized my way out of college, and decided 9 days I could handle auction school. So drove to Louisville, Kentucky, went through Missouri Auction School back in 2002, I think it was, and it's been off to the running ever since. So it's one of those that it's been a profession that has blessed me, and you know, as I got into it, I laid my goals out, and my goals, I guess I've never wanted to be second. It didn't matter what I picked up, what I wanted to do. If I couldn't do it the best, I wasn't interested. And so I laid my goals out, and at the time I thought, well, if I can win this contest, I've got it made. And I won the contest and realized didn't have it made. So I put the next contest on. And so as you can see, I was very fortunate to come up through the contest world, and all of a sudden I hit my mid-30s and had checked everything off my bucket list there was to check off, and that was a weird spot to be, because I'd accomplished every goal that I wanted to, and now I had to figure out what I was going to do when I grew up. And so in my mid-30s, I kind of hit the reset button and said, okay, what's next? And at the time, I was a partner in a real estate and an auction company. We had about 50 agents that had worked for us, and several auctioneers, and you know, at the end of the day, I knew I was not a good manager of a brokerage. That's not the direction I wanted to be in, and so we sold off our traditional side and used the money that we had sold that traditional side to a franchise and invested in an equipment yard. And always had an interest in equipment, grew up on a farm. After I socialized my way out of the Ohio State University, I spent a few years with an excavating crew, and so always had a passion for equipment. And so added that to what I was doing on the real estate side, and we invested that money in a yard there at home. And at the time, it was a cornfield. And there was 2 young guys that had grabbed a hold of 60 acres, and the local community said these guys have lost their mind. But about 6 months later, we had all pretty well turned some heads and said, these boys have a tiger by the tail. Because I could see the opportunity that laid there. I could see the opportunity in the amount of inventory that was available. And so that's what kind of led to that decision. And by the way, if you don't think there's opportunity in the equipment world, there's $125,000 worth of commission from this parking lot right over here to the highway. And if you doubt me, count the machines as you get to the highway. That's in a mile. That's the amount of commission that's from here to there. So you think about that as you go up and down the road, the amount of opportunity that the equipment world brings to us. So Joseph and I, when we put this equipment yard in, 2 young guys didn't know what we had a hold of. The first consignment sale we had I opened the gate at 6 in the morning, and when I closed it that night, we had 5 inches of rain on us, and it was 40 degrees. We thought, this is a disaster. This is going to be a nightmare. There was 1,000 people standing there that day to buy equipment, plus the online. And that's when we realized, really, the tiger we had by the tail in the equipment world. But what really got me started after that was I had a gentleman that I had a lot of respect for, came in and sat in my office, and he said, so Andy, what are you going to do when the new wears off? I said, well, what do you mean? He says, what are you going to do when the new wears off? He says, you're the shiny new toy in town. He says, you're where people want to be. But he says, it's not going to be too long where that shines off. He says, what are you going to do? And it really got my wheels thinking, because there's a lot of equipment sales out there and a lot of consignment-based equipment sales. And I took count yesterday. There's 17 within 30 miles of me in the next 45 days. 2 of them are pretty good sales, and the other 15 have a few good pieces. And so that's what got my wheels spinning at that time, is I didn't want to be just an ordinary consignment sale. I didn't want to be just an ordinary sale that had the reputation of a wholesale market, because there's nothing to me that is like nails on a chalkboard other than when somebody says an auction is a wholesale market. Because if it's a wholesale market and that's how we are, I mean, at the end of the day, I think I've lost my effectiveness. Because if I can't build a retail market or strive for a retail market, am I really providing a service to my sellers? And so my business model from then on was created to create a retail style environment in the equipment world. Because it's hard for some people to be able to come to an equipment sale because they might not have the wherewithal. They might not have the ability to spend their money because they have to take out a loan. You know, they might not have the ability because they're unsure of that piece of quality or the quality that condition has. And so ever since then, our business model has evolved to make sure that we are gearing towards a retail marketplace and providing as good of equipment as what we possibly can. And I guess before we get too far into this, I want to make a couple points here quick. One, I'm not telling you today that you need to go out and buy 60 acres to be successful in the equipment world. Absolutely, you do not. You don't need to own a piece of real estate to put on consignment sales. There is more opportunity to lease places, whether it's a fairgrounds, whether it's a piece of, there's some here in Kentucky that we've used in the past. You do not need to leave here thinking that you need a lot of wherewithal to do this. You don't have to have a huge checkbook to be very successful in this equipment world. There's a lot of opportunity without doing that. If you know Sam Sales out of Kentucky, he owns maybe 6 acres of hardpack. If you've not been to his sale, there's a gentleman that can pack about $15 million worth of equipment into 5 acres. And I'm telling you what, the topper truck can barely fit through there, and when you walk through, you can't turn your boot sideways. That's how tight they pack it. But I'm telling you, they put together some consignment sales, and I think they're 2 or 3 a year, and they do it on 5 and 6 acres. So you don't need 60 acres to do that, so please don't leave here thinking you need to do so. So, what is an equipment portfolio? To me, it's a curated, repeatable pipeline of market-ready equipment built for long-term growth, not one-off auctions. And they focus on consistency, liquidity, and buyer trust. So when you guys think of an equipment sale or a consignment sale, what kind of comes to your mind? What's that? Yellow equipment. If you are a seller, what comes to your mind? It's a consignment sale. Junk. Junk. They are offloading their problems. That's what a consignment sale is, right? Buddy, when I put my flag in the ground, it was very, very evident if that was your intention, you and I were not going to get along because I didn't want your problems. You were not going to jeopardize my reputation by bringing your problem to town. And so that's the connotation, and I agree 100% with consignment sales, right? And I mean, we've all seen it. You walk up to that piece of equipment, well, those 3 numbers that are wrote there in chalk, that's not the guy's Social Security number. That's his buyer's number. That was the guy before him's buyer's number, and that was the guy before his buyer's number. And come on, right? I mean, at this point, all we're doing is tailoring to the jockeys. And so that's where we pretty well have cut that out on our end, and I'll talk just a minute on how we've been able to do that. But the problem to me with consignment sales, and I've done this since I was, I think, 26. I took over a sale at home for a local FFA chapter. And when I took it over, the food stand was making more than what the auction was. And as we went to build this, one, it was built on quality, but the struggle we always had was every time we did it, you had to restart the flywheel. You lost every bit of momentum. So every time it was reinventing the wheel. And so that's why, to me, a portfolio, when you build this, is so much more advantageous because the flywheel's always running. You're not rebuilding it as you go. And again, you can do it once a year and it can be very successful, but I think as you're starting to do that, if you are thinking of doing consignment sales, in my mind, don't say I'm just going to do one and then we'll see how it goes. Have the next one in place, right? Because if you, in your mind, are only going to do one, you're already set up for failure. You're already in the back of your mind, well, what if it doesn't work? Is that an option? Not in my world. I know it's going to work. If it doesn't work, I'm going to figure out why it didn't work, and we're going to do it again, and we're going to make sure the second time works better, and then the third time works better. So that's why in our world, the portfolio business is so important to us because we can keep that flywheel rolling all year long. Does that make sense? How many of you in here do sell equipment? Good portion of you. How many of you do consignment sales? Okay. What's your biggest challenge with the consignment sales? What's that? Labor? Yeah, that's pretty well the world today. What's your other biggest challenge? Inventory. Consistently finding equipment. Yes, sir. Yep. It's extremely difficult. And that's what he said is one of his biggest struggles is getting consigners to bring it in early enough to get the marketing done right. The problem is with that, and if you get it figured out, you let me know. The problem is with that is our world is so quick that we don't have to have 3 weeks of advertising anymore. We can touch so many people in days. And 9 times out of 10, those are the pieces that are going to bring exactly what they are worth. And that's where you're never going to educate your seller, in my mind, quick enough to get them to get that equipment there faster. Now, the ones that do, especially on the pieces that maybe the market is not quite as strong, that's where you need to see the benefit of having it in there longer. But it's 100% a struggle that we have as well. So with a portfolio, you have predictable revenue. I'm telling you, we can tell you right now, we are up to, I think, 8 sales a year there at our yard. 5 of them are live with simulcast, 3 of them are online only. I can tell you which month, what sales we will have, and I can generally hit you within about $1 million of what it'll do, which sounds like a big variance, but on the sales we have, we can tell you exactly where that market is going to be based on what the month of the year is. Because to us, every asset is not conducive to sell every month. And so we can track our pipeline as far as exactly what is coming, what we think will be there, and what our sales guys should be out working on. You have a much stronger buyer loyalty. And what I mean by this is when you have this portfolio and you are known for quality equipment or good, usable service equipment, and when I say quality, I don't mean it needs to be a 2023 and newer. I don't mean it needs to have 500 hours or less. In my mind, it needs to be serviceable, it needs to be well taken care of, and it might be 30 years old. But if it's well taken care of and serviceable, that to me is quality equipment, okay? So don't get this picture in your mind that you have to have all late model, low hour equipment. Now, would we love that? Yeah, my banker really likes that. But I mean, nature of the beast is that's not going to happen all the time. So when you build this, we have a lot of buyers, to be honest with you, that don't even look at the marketing or look at the website a whole lot. They just come down because they know we're going to have quality, we're going to have selection, and we're going to have sellers that are going to sell. And so at the end of the day, that's where that buyer trust and loyalty comes in, is they just know you have a product and you're going to have plenty of it for them to pick from. So that's where our portfolio has really taken off that way. And it's higher sell-through rates. So every auction has their business model, right? Are any of you in here 100% absolute? I'd love to be, but the world we live in, it's pretty tough to do that. So you guys on your reserves, I mean, obviously it's a transparent marketplace. I mean, at the end of the day, most of your buyers are going to know whether a seller's protecting it or not protecting it. But if you don't have the reputation of a high sell-through rate, you're going to diminish your buyer trust in a hurry. And we try to publish our sell-through rate as much as what we can to build that buyer confidence. The lowest sell-through rate we've ever had is 95%. The highest we've ever had is 99.2. And we put that out there. And we want you to know, Mr. Buyer, when you come here, we are not wasting your time. That at the end of it, you're going to have an equal opportunity to buy this, and we have our sellers educated to know what their equipment is worth, so they're smart enough to spit the bit when they should. And generally, that 0.8% to that 5% is not because the market wasn't there, it's because of greedy sellers. That's what it comes down to. Because the marketplace, we can get it to them. It's just whether they're smart enough to realize it. So in defining your strategy, if you decide, hey, I want to go forward with putting together an equipment consignment sale, or I want to make sure I'm building on what I'm doing here, you have to select core equipment categories. Be smart enough to know that you don't know what you don't know, okay? At the end of the day, to just paint that broad brush and say, I'm going to take every piece that comes at me, I'm going to sell everything that I possibly can, and not have a strategy in place, to me, at the end of the day, can bite you. To me, at the end of the day, if you don't have a strategy as to what those core groups are, it can really come back and bite you. Because if you know those core groups and what you are chasing, your sell-through rate's going to be better. You're going to know the market better. And at the end of the day, you're going to have a product that your consumers really want to see. And so they're going to want to be a part of a sale like that. Determine geographic reach. To me, this is almost becoming a little bit of a moot point, because it is amazing to me how far equipment is shipped. And it's amazing to me that we will have equipment shipped in from 500 miles to ship it right back within 20 miles of where it came from. How often does that happen? Quite often. And it's weird to me how that works. But the geographic, I mean, right now you can touch the world with this equipment, and it is easy to transport the large majority of it, unless you get to eastern Kentucky, and then transportation gets to be a little bit harder when you start to see those monsters. But I'll tell you a few stories here in a minute as to some hard life lessons or equipment lessons I learned in eastern Kentucky. And align with internal expertise. So in building consumer confidence, sometimes your best product to sell is what you know the best, or the people you hire know the best. We hired a salesman that was a union operator for 23 years. Anybody watch MMA? Do you know who Brock Lesnar is? If he walked in here, you'd think Brock Lesnar was here. I mean, this big old burly guy, and he wouldn't hurt a fly. He worked for one of the largest construction companies in the world, and he was their deep pipe layer. I mean, we're talking 40, 50 feet in the ground. He ran the big excavators. And we hired him away, turned him into a salesman. You want to talk about creating confidence with your buyers and sellers? He can talk the language. And back to the trying to sell to the end user, not the wholesale marketplace. When that end user thinks about an auction and is this piece of equipment really what I want? We put them on the phone with Matt. And Matt talks the machine, tells them exactly what it is, and at the end of the day, a lot of those guys say, I was going to the dealership to buy a brand new machine, but this guy, when I talked to him, I realized he knew what he was talking about. He created that confidence, and I spent my money there. So we had an end-all user and created that retail marketplace. So a lot of the equipment we chase is equipment that he knows and he understands and he can talk. So portfolio-worthy equipment, strong market demand. Does your guys' market change based on time of year? Or is it pretty consistent clear through? No right or wrong answer. Do you guys think your market changes based on the time of year per asset class? 100%. Yeah. If you don't recognize that, you probably ought to scale back and look at what your machines are bringing. Because that strong market demand, when we look at it and we're putting together and filling our pipeline well ahead of time, we're thinking 6 to 9 months out as to what we need to be trying to secure for those sales because of what that market is doing. So that's, you know, just a small piece of it, but strong market demand creates portfolio-worthy equipment. Transportable assets, we covered that. Clear ownership and documentation. You guys ever had a piece of equipment that you have sold and got a call from the buyer that says, hey, my financing won't go through because there's a UCC on that machine? You ever had that happen? Good. You should be running your UCCs. It gets to be kind of cumbersome sometimes when it's a last-minute deal, but if you're not running UCCs, it's a good way to get yourself in a bind. But if somebody has a UCC filed, somebody can't pull out a loan on that machine. You ever not found a UCC? Yeah. Real tricky. A very, very unhandy problem. Yes. So at the end of the day, when somebody goes to finance a piece of equipment, a bank is going to research it. And if that machine had a security or a lien on it prior to, if it was based on that serial number, it's easy to find. If it was underneath John R. Smith, and that's what his loan was out, that's easy to find. If the contract was John R. Smith and JR Construction, that's easy to find. But you forgot to ask him whether that machine was liened under Smith Farms. I mean, if you don't have all the aliases it could have been in, you can miss those UCCs. The problem with that clear ownership is now all of a sudden you had somebody that has a machine, they want to use it, and now you're going to have several days until you can get them a free and clear ownership to where they can get the loan for it to be able to start using that machine. And what have you done at that point? These guys don't know what they're doing. They sold me a machine that they don't even have ownership or don't have the right to sell. And so that's where it's very important to make sure you do as much as you can to flush those issues out ahead of time. So strategic equipment sourcing. Yes, sir. Yep. 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 If they're a blanket UCC, now if it's on a piece that's specified serial number based, that blanket, to my understanding, has no merit, right? Because that's held by this. Now, how many times, because our contracts stipulate when somebody comes in, are there liens, right? 8 times out of 10, most people will check no. Because they don't realize that their blanket UCC covers everything, okay? Now we have found, and it's probably one of our flaws, generally when you come in and consign a piece of equipment, we can see red flags pretty quick. I mean, I think you guys in the equipment world usually know that. 9 times out of 10, it's very innocent when they just didn't know the blanket covered it, right? So when it's local people, it's easy. When it's dealing with farm credit and ag credits, it's generally easy. Now, when it's dealing with finance companies that they've bought maybe at another sale or somewhere else, it can get to be a little bit, cumbersome getting those released. But yes, the biggest thing is, and it's an educational component to your sellers and understanding that it's a blanket UCC. And the best thing they can do is reach out to ag credit and farm credit and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. 99% of the time, there is no issue. They're going to be like, yeah, you're in good standing. Now, if we start to see red flags, we make sure we make phone calls and just say, hey, this is what's going on. They want to buy a piece. They're selling a piece. Are we able to make this work and the funds not go to you? Yeah. Just clear it up that way. Does that answer your question? Yep. 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 100%. So I'm sure you guys are a little bit like me or have been in the past. There's probably several of you in here that just fly by the seat of your pants and have sales and send checks out. You know who's responsible when you send the check to the owner and there was a UCC? And it's not the owner. Yeah. So make sure you know that deep down. Especially, I mean, if it's a $3 or $5 or $10,000 piece, we don't get caught up in it too much. But I'd guarantee if it's a $50,000 piece, a couple of those are going to make a pretty good sting. So if you guys don't know how to run UCCs yeah, does everybody in here do that? And you don't have to raise your hand if you're not. I mean, I'm not trying to pull anybody out. But I guess if there's one thing we can plant in your mind today is if you are selling equipment, learn or have somebody in your office that's pretty good at running UCC searches. And it's not hard. It's not hard at all. At least in the state of Ohio, it's not hard. It's pretty easy to type in their information and you've got everything that you need. So here's where our alignment with some certain people has really come into play for our business as far as sourcing this equipment. So when I talked about starting that flywheel over every time there's a sale started, to me that's not an option. I've got everything planted months ahead of time as far as the seed packages that are coming in. Because it's my feeling the identity of every one of your sales is created in the first 15 pieces. You guys doing consignment sales, do you agree with that? The first 15 pieces that show up on your lot, that's what your sale is. Do you want John Doe's seller to be in charge of what the identity of your sale? He's not going to be in charge of mine. My first 15 are secured long before anybody ever starts thinking about what that sale is. Because I will have control of that. Does that mean you're not going to get junk? No, that doesn't mean it. But if your first 15 pieces are junk, you're going to have a junk sale. No doubt about it. Because here's the biggest thing. Your first 15 pieces are going to give your sellers the trust. Hey, they've got good equipment. Mine matches up with that. Mine will fit right beside theirs. It'll look good in there. It's going to be easier for you to pull out better equipment as you go. But the first 15 that come in are suspect, you're going to have a pretty suspect sale. Dealers and fleets. You guys deal with any dealers and fleets when you're getting your consignments? Are you only getting their problem childs? Too much money in them, can't sell them, we got to send them to the auction. If you are, look for different dealers. This is a huge source of business, and this is not a bad thing, okay? Your dealers are good consigners. Do you know how many dealers out there will send equipment to you because they don't want it on their lot because it's non-OEM? It's not John Deere. They don't want it on their lot. Do you know our John Deere dealer at home doesn't want used equipment on his lot? That's their business model. It's a great source for us. So if you position yourself in the market and you can get to these dealers and say, hey, if you got this coming in and it's not what fits your business model, we're an option for you. How many of you guys buy equipment? Yep. How many of you guys guarantee equipment? All the time. Yeah. I like the buying more than the guaranteeing, but yeah, you almost have to. Dealers want security, okay? They're typically not as apt to take the risk as what your individuals are, right? Yep. 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 Dealers don't want you to make money. What if you're making them money? Yep. you need to change your mentality before you change theirs. Because, listen, nobody wants us to make a fat hog on them, right? Pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. I mean, that's the name of the game, right? But when you provide a service to that dealer, you show them you're getting a true market value. You show them that you're keeping their reputation in a good alignment. There's a lot of dealers that once you get them on the right side of the fence, love the auction method of marketing because it's consistent. They know what to expect. They know the process. So yeah, now there's some dealers, yes, they don't want you to make a penny. Those aren't the dealers you want to deal with. I don't need to deal with you. There's way too much other business out there to deal with you. We get around them. So yeah, but dealers are a huge portion of our consignments. And at the end of the day, when somebody calls in, they always want to know the history of that piece, right? Where'd that piece come from? If we say it was a dealer trade-in, there's usually no pushback. We know why they're selling it. It's a fleet dispersal. Okay, there's consumer confidence. There's an individual selling it. Is there something wrong? I mean, that's usually the mentality. So dealer equipment, we love dealer equipment just because there's usually confidence behind it. Contractors and farmers, huge source of business. So our last sale, we had 2,207 lots. That sounds like a lot. 500 of them were small miscellaneous. And then we are gifted with the saltwater brand attachments, just like everybody else is. But we had almost 1,000 pieces of heavy equipment. 90% of them, contractors and individuals. To me, that's pretty rewarding when they trust the marketplace like that. Because no offense or nothing, Facebook Marketplace is at their fingertips, right? When you build the market to where they feel like you are getting them as much or close to what they're going to get with less hassle and a better process, they're consigning. So that's a huge source of business for us. Banks, estates, and lenders. You talked about the farm world. Guys, when that thing went into peril, if you were not in good graces with your lender, you were missing business. Didn't have to be repossessed, but guess what happens when somebody's going through hard times? What's the first phone call they make, or who's the first person they talk to outside of their spouse? It's their lender. What are you going to do? Well, you know what? These guys do a good job down here. Why don't you take them that piece of equipment? We're going to work with you. Lenders are a huge referral network. So if you're not out tapping on their doors and the attorney's doors, you need to be. Relationship-based consignments. So everybody loves a good dispersal sale, right? It's the best sale there is. It's easy. It's shooting fish in a barrel. All you need is a striped shirt and a whistle, right? Do you know what the problem with a dispersal sale is? That seller's done. I'd rather prune the tree than chop it down. I'd rather have one or two pieces from that guy to keep him in a good position than disperse him out. I mean, in our farm world, if you look on a long-term strategy, it's a little bit, you can get in the weeds and it gets a little dark because it is consolidating. There's no doubt about it where we're at. The farm world's consolidating. So we have those dispersals. But if we can keep it on an ongoing seller basis, I'd rather sell 2 pieces for you a year than 20 in one. So the communication is key. At the end of the day, how many times do you have a seller that comes into you and my tractor's worth $25,000? And you're sitting there going, no, it's going to bring 18. You know it. How many times have you told them that? Or how many times were you just excited to have the consignment bring it in? And then they look at you after the fact and they're disappointed because they know now what you knew the whole time. Conversation up front. Will it cost you consignments? Absolutely. Do you want those consignments? No. Because if they leave out of there, I'm not taking anything back because they got me what my tractor was worth. Right? If you're not communicating with your sellers all the time as to what's going on, you are absolutely burning the bridge. Those little communications throughout, and it's hard to do when you have that many sellers, but doggone, that's where it is built. That's where these relationships, because at the end of the day, every one of those sellers should be your salesman when it's all said and done. How many of you send your sellers the description of their items before you post it? Do you? It's an awesome service. How many of you got that phone call on sale day? Hey, your description's not right. And at that point, it gets pretty hard to change. Where were you the last 3 weeks when we've had it up? Well, I was busy. I didn't really look at it. I didn't see you had the hours wrong. I didn't see that you had the wrong transmission in it. I didn't see that not all the options were posted on there. So I consign equipment to different sales. When I have a piece that doesn't fit my marketplace, I'll send it somewhere else. When I have a piece that I don't want in my marketplace, I'll send it somewhere else. Freegies out of Indiana, who's a good friend of mine, they have a system where it emails me my descriptions, and I have to sign off on it before it goes live. So guess whose fault it is when it's not right? That's awesome seller communication. And guess what? It's 100% automated. They don't even know the email's going out. Tremendous service. Market timing education. How many of you get the phone call, hey, I want to sell my baler? Oh, that's awesome. It's October. Down here, is October a good time to sell a baler? Perfect. Bring it on down. But I do want you to know that the market will be 15% better in April than what it is right now. You make the decision. Have those conversations with your seller, because then they can make the decision, because 9 times out of 10, they're still going to bring it. Well, that's, you know what, I appreciate you saying it, but I'd really like to free up the cash flow. Now they know what's going to happen. So back to your point with your dealers. Auction's the last resort for them. Seems to be, yeah. Why? Because we haven't positioned it as a service. And I'm not saying right or wrong, because there's dealers you're never going to get to see what that is, right? But in our world, auctions too many times are known still as the death, divorce, distressed situations, and not a service to our sellers and buyers. Once you create a marketplace where it is a service, and they know it's a service, you have lifelong customers. Position auctions as a service, not a last resort. Does that make sense? And until you do that, you're always going to be thought of as a last resort. Fill the pipeline early. This is where I have a ton of fun getting creative with what we're doing. It might fit you, it might not. Future ready inventory. So we have equipment already for our June sale. And we have a March sale, we have an April sale, we have a June sale. Some of it I own, some of it I don't. We put in a buy now lot next to our equipment yard. And it was kind of one of those like, hey, is there extra revenue for us here? There's extra revenue for us here. But how many times that $25,000 tractor, when you have that talk with that seller, hey, it's only going to bring $18,000. However, we've got this lot sitting here. We're going to give you 6 months. We're going to try to get you your $25,000. In June, it's going to be in that auction, and it's absolute. So you know, we're going to market it for you. We're going to try to get you your 25, but in June, if it hasn't sold, we're going to get you in here, and it's probably going to bring you 18,000 we're talking about. This, out of everything we have done in the last 3 years, has been one of the most successful pieces of the puzzle. For 2 reasons. That buy now lot, it's kind of like auction times, pre-auction or whatever they do. I mean, that's a little bit of what they had going on there. To me, there's 2 different types of consumer in the marketplace. There's the ones that want instant gratification, and I'm not waiting for an auction. I'm going to buy it now. I want the convenience of having it at my door tonight. So it brings in that style of buyer that's normally not going to be your auction buyer. The other piece of the puzzle to this is, all of a sudden now, I've got the pipeline filling for June. That way, when we open for consignments and we start to do that, we're already 20% of the way there. And I'm here to tell you there's money to be made with that buy now. Sellers love it. The stuff we own, absolutely has been well received, and this gives you an opportunity to build your identity 6 months before that sale. So now all of a sudden the consignments you want are going to be easier to obtain. So we are at about a 50% sell rate ahead of the auction on the buy now, depending on the time of the year and what the equipment is. And you would think that reduced our overall equipment sales on those because we sold 50% of what was going to be there, at least at the start of it. It's probably added 30% to our sales by being able to offer buy now. So not saying it's going to work for everybody, but it has worked extremely well for us. Seasonal replacement cycles. So are you guys, at this point in time, when somebody comes in and buys, let's say you have a spring sale, somebody comes in and buys an excavator. Are you asking them what they're doing with their other excavator? They got one. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, the guy that just bought it has one at home. He wants something bigger or better. So are you asking them? Buyers are sellers. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not posing those questions to them. But as far as the seasonal replacement equipment, guys, it's easy to watch the marketplace as to when things are selling. There's a cycle every year. We're not reinventing the wheel every time. So if you're not trying to get there ahead of when the season gets there, you're missing the boat. Because I can tell you right now, when the end of the year comes along, what equipment's going to be available in the marketplace. I can tell you in June and in July what I want to be buying to be ready for the fall. Because that marketplace, when it hits, I'm 3 steps ahead of you because I know what the market's going to be or where people are going to want to be buying. So seasonal cycles are huge. We've already gone through the identity of your sale. CRM internal services. How many of you have a CRM system? Would you mind sharing what it is? You like it? Yep. Powerful. Yep. Yep. HubSpot. You find yourself getting lost in the trails of those videos? Yep. But it's scary what it's capable of. So, CRM. 5 years ago, I could remember anybody that had called me what you had to sell, and I could remember to call you back. Today, whether it's age, whether it's some of the brain cells that I've managed to kill, or what it is, my memory's not near what it is. My hard drive is almost full. A CRM system will make you a lot of money, and you can set it up on automated follow-up. When John Doe calls in and he's not ready to sell his backhoe, well, that's fine. You had the conversation. If you don't put that information in the system and it's not remarketing to him, you are going to step over a lot of commission. So make sure that you are building a CRM system. It doesn't have to be, I mean, HubSpot's awesome. HubSpot's expensive. There's a lot of options out there, but that is a robust tool. And we're in the same boat. We just started on HubSpot here recently. Mm-hmm. Oh. So it all depends on the asset class. The question was, how are we arming our salespeople, or where are we getting our values when we're talking with our sellers? I mean, obviously, there's a world of resources out there that are showing you what the sales are doing, right? The hard part is, like you said, when this market checks up, and I think on the yellow iron side, we saw it check up this fall, did we not? There was more equipment hit that marketplace, in my opinion, in December than we had seen in 4 months. And that market, most places checked up 14 to 16% from what we could see on the data. And now all of a sudden, the data you have is from where it was selling at that higher value. There's a world of resources out there for your comparables. Ritchie Brothers has a big site. Tractor House, Machinery Trader has a big site. We track a lot internally as far as what our market looks like, okay? And so, I mean, When we arm our salespeople, I've got one guy that strictly goes off of Richie's sales, and then he'll pull, there's another one. I'll think of it here in a second. Then another guy is all machinery trader on heavy iron, tractor house. I mean, there's a ton of data, right? But the trick to the whole deal is training your people to see the differences, because not every 138 is the same 138, right? And so it's being able to read between the lines and looking at pictures. So many times you look at the data, okay, this John Deere 8420 has 6,000 hours. Here's 7 of them with the same hours that sold. Here's the range we're in. Okay, but is that truly the comparable for what the one we are selling is without looking at the pictures and looking at the rest of the story? So that's where I encourage them to dive in deeper. I never trust putting our inventory into a system and it telling me what it's worth. I mean, it gives you a guide, but I think it's a deeper dive than what that is. But in building that marketplace and that trust with your sellers, you have to educate them as to what they can expect, right? And what we love to show is, here's what the market's showing, here's what ours have sold for. And in that way they can see, is there a difference in what we are doing based on what the rest of the market is? And that's part of what, in our mind, as we're trying to build this retail market, if you can show them there's value add, it's a much easier sale. Yep. Does that answer your question? To an extent. It's the same resources you're using. You probably have more than what we do, to be honest with you. So. All right. How many of you ever had a sale where you've had too many items of one specific kind? I can remember when the skid loader market, there was hardly any of them out there, and you could sell a Bobcat 843 that looked like it had been dropped out of a plane for $16,000. I mean, it was fun. There's nothing for sale. And then all at once, the next sale, there was 45 skid loaders sitting there. You talk about a disservice to your sellers. Do I have the answers on how to always stop that? No. But, guys, when you're putting these together, usually you have a pretty good indication as to how many you're going to be able to sell and how many you're going to be able to get a top dollar for. And when you hit that threshold in your mind, what's the best thing you can do? You can bring that skid loader, but I want you to know, we've already got 16 of them. Be open and honest. But, by the way, you know what? I could market this for you after the sale, put it in our buy now. I could market this for you online, and if we don't get it sold for you, bring it to the next sale. If you oversaturate that market and those sellers leave out of there going, oh, this market is tanking and those guys don't know what they're doing, you didn't trip over commission that day, you tripped over it for the next 2 sales. It's an open and honest, transparent with your sellers that, you know what, guys, this might not be the sale to put it in. To us, it's extremely important to have a good mix of categories. So if you go down through our sales, there might be 10 minis, there might be 20 skid loaders, but we want to make sure we have as much inventory as possible. Because when that guy comes to buy the mini and he didn't get the one he wanted, guess what he's got in his pocket? $25,000 to spend. Pretty good chance I can get him to spend it on something else. So it's very important to us as we're out there on the sale, or the sales guys are out there beating the bushes, that they know what we have in our pipeline and they know the needs that we have in our pipeline. So they can say, hey, Mr. Seller, we don't have very many of these yet. We feel like this is probably a pretty good time if you're wanting to upgrade to be able to put that in the sale. So it's important to us to have a good mix. Avoid the over concentration and then encourage bidder crossover. And that bidder crossover, our sales are designed to where we have a construction ring, we have a farm ring, we have our attachments ring, and then we've moved all our miscellaneous to online only during our live sales. But there's a huge crossover between all those, and it's extremely important to us that we segregate them all out separate. So on your reserves, how many times do you guys get it? He's not going to sell it. Took it down there to that consignment sale. If he gets lucky, he's going to sell it. But other than that, he's just fishing to see if he can get a buyer. That's where the lack of trust comes in on consignment sales. He's not going to sell it. We have a pretty bold reserve strategy with our people. One, if it's out of bounds, we don't want it. Two, on your reserve strategy, I would encourage you to have as much skin in the game on the seller as possible. Because if they've got skin in the game, they're going to be more apt to sell it. If they're not going to sell it, don't have it. Because all it's doing is working on your reputation. Turn it down. Some of the best sales you get are the ones you turn down. Even it might be your best piece of the sale. If you can't get it sold, guess what people are saying when they leave? I don't know if I want to take my equipment down there because that guy bought his piece of equipment back. They must not be getting the market done. So we make sure our sellers have a world of skin in the game and understand what happens when they do buy it back. Transparency with the consigners. I mean, I get it. At the end of the day, you probably do need to have a reserve system unless you are as big and robust as what a Ritchie Brothers are and can make those type of company policies. But having those reserves can get you a lot of business. And as you're building your reputation, a lot of times it's going to come build on those reserves. Because sooner or later, once they realize that your marketing's in place, you understand everything, you're going to maximize my value, it's going to get easier and easier and easier for those sellers to start checking that absolute box. We have converted from the start to finish. We were probably 50-50 to start with, and at this point in time, we started in 17 with this lot. We are pushing 80% on the absolute. Interestingly enough, how many times do you hear a buyer say, I see this one's not absolute, so that piece must be all right because the seller's okay getting it back. Isn't that a reverse psychology? I've heard it enough now, I'm almost thinking we might need to just get away with advertising what's absolute and what's not. But to me, there's a transparency there that does provide some consumer confidence. So, risk management. Biggest thing you ever put at risk when you're at business is your name. 100%. If you're not mitigating as much of that risk as possible, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Marketing and timing risk, we've gone and touched on a few of those items. Being open and honest with your sellers, this might not be the time. Title and lien issues. How many of you have ever sold a vehicle? Are you guys in Kentucky allowed to pretty well sell vehicles, no issues? In Ohio, we have some very strict laws on vehicles. I'd probably hold on and watch the court cases because it's coming. Sooner or later, the state is going to bite into us and it's going to get ugly. How many of you ever sold a vehicle and then got the title after the fact and it was salvage title? Anybody done that? How awesome is that phone call? What do you mean it's salvage title? I've already put $800 into this thing. Those phone calls stink bad. But whose fault was it? To the buyer, it's not the seller, right? It's 100% our fault. On those title and lien issues, make sure you have those flushed out of the gate. If there's an issue that you don't think you can resolve quickly, you pull that piece out of the auction just as soon as what you possibly can and get the lien issues resolved so it doesn't chase that piece of equipment down the road. We've had pieces of equipment that we sold 2 years ago that the UCC was not released correctly and deal with it 2 years down the road when that guy goes to sell it. You talk about a sting. It kills your reputation. Stand behind what's right. Do any of you guys force your sellers to tell you what's wrong with that piece? So in our contracts, and not saying we do it right, because it's only as good as the person signing it, we force them to acknowledge whether they have any knowledge of defects or issues with that machine that might exceed $500. Okay? This has been a huge piece of the puzzle for us in creating end user confidence. And the reason it has been is because we've had machines that, guess what, have had issues. How many of you guys have got the phone calls after the fact? This thing's, I've got oil, or I've got antifreeze in the oil. It wasn't there when I bought it. Oh, by the way, my mechanic opened it up, and there's never C's in here, or they put something in to Band-Aid it. You guys ever get those phone calls? What's your normal reaction? Sorry, you bought it as is. So why do you think we have a reputation for selling people's problems when we hide behind the as-is clause. You can do that. If that's your business model, I'm not throwing darts here, all right? I mean, because it's easy to do. It's easy to not have the headache. I'm sorry, you should have inspected it closer. Bought it as is. Well, guess who's not coming back? Guess whose friends are not coming back? Guys, this has been a long-term learning process for our sellers, because no matter what you do, you'll never document a crook or a thief out of being a crook and a thief. You'll never do it. But I'll guarantee that crook and thief only consigns with us one time. And the next time they walk through the door, no thank you. I don't need you. There's too many other people out there that are not going to jeopardize my reputation. Guys, we've had to pay for engines. We have had to pay for repairs. We've had to pay for things because we've had sellers that are dishonest. It took about 3 sales before our sellers realized we were serious about this. And one of our best buyers was one of our biggest skeptics with what we were doing. To this day, he's one of our best buyers, but he bought a machine. It was a telehandler. Second and third gear didn't work right. To be honest, we probably should have caught it in the yard, but we didn't. I mean, our guys, they weren't hammering it around doing certain things, and if you just put it in, on a low idle, it was fine. But if you were out going down through, and guys that are handling telehandlers, there's nobody that backs that RPM down before they throw it in second and third gear. It's as you're going through. Figured out there was a problem, and he called me. He says, I got a problem. And I said, what is it? He said, second and third gear aren't right in this. I said, well, you don't have a problem. I said, bring it back. I said, what do you mean bring it back? I said, do you want the machine? He goes, no, I don't want the machine with that issue. I said, bring it back. No questions asked. Called Mr. Seller. Is there a second and third gear issue with this? Well, only if you're going too fast. I said, well, your machine's sitting here. Come and get it. He said, well, it's as is. I said, yeah, to an extent, it's as is. But I said, you remember this box you checked? Not more than $500? I said, come get your machine. He did. Came and got it. And guess what went through our local community? Don't take your problems down there, because those guys are serious about what you're doing. Guys, for too many years, we have forced other people's problems onto people and just stood behind the as-is. Continue to do it if you want to do it. But I'm telling you, as our marketplace changes and we are looking at a generation coming on that, one, doesn't want to work on anything, two, wants it right now, the more you can do to get that generation involved, because they have the confidence that you are selling quality equipment and you're going to stand behind it, they're going to be there nonstop. They're going to trust what you're selling because they know you stand behind it. It's cost us money, but it's made us a ton of money. So as far as always doing what's right, guys, if there's issues, that's fine. We'll still sell your equipment, but we're going to disclose it. Our guys, when we line this up, if they know there's an issue, they better be calling the office real quick and telling us what that issue is, because we're going to call the seller and say, hey, we've got an issue here. Your machine is doing this. If it wasn't doing it before, how do you want to handle it? Do you want to come get it? We'll pull it from the sale. You can fix it, or we're going to disclose what's going on. Because as soon as the buyer thinks you're trying to hide something from them, you're going to kill your reputation. By the way, this is Mandy. Mandy is our gatekeeper. She answers the phone. She's the first face you see. That lady right there is the key to our operation. We're only as good as the people that these people talk to. She is dynamite. She can turn somebody that's having a bad day into having a great day like that. If you don't have people on your staff like that, you're missing out. Formats and cadences, live, online, simulcast. How many of you still do live auctions? How many of you migrated online only? How many of you are simulcast? Yeah. Is anybody in here solely live, come to the auction, or don't play? Still do that? Yep. Okay. There's some advantages to that. So we do a little bit of both. To me, it is product driven and it is time of year driven. 100% as to how we make our decisions as to what sale goes into what. I am blessed to be from central Ohio to where most of our sales look like a county fair. I mean, we are heavy Amish, heavy Mennonite populations, but yet we are still in an area where people want to be social, and it's great to see. There'll be some of our sales where there'll be 3,500 people standing there, which is awesome. But we're smart enough to know, come May, you better not be having a live sale. Because I'll guarantee when that farmer finally crawls in that tractor and you have a sale, guess what he's not doing? He's not coming. And if it's simulcast, yeah, he might sit in his tractor and participate, but if it's online only, pretty good chance you can get him to do something the night before. So that's how we determine, when we decide which sales are what. All these Chinese goods that are coming that we all thought would saturate the market 6 years ago. I don't know if you heard the news, but one of the major manufacturers just bought 200 acres in China to expand. And I said, well, how much are you going to expand? He goes, oh, we're thinking 50 acres under roof. For some reason, when we sit there and say there's no way they're making money, I think they've got figured out that they're still making a pile of money. These Chinese goods are not going away. They're getting very smart at adapting and changing what they are selling. And we talked about it last night. There's days it's like, do we really want this? But it's almost like found money. I mean, every auction company in the world, you flip through there and you can see what it is. We've taken the strategy to not let that dictate the rest of the equipment. We try to pull it all off to the side. We try to flush as much of that out as possible with online-only sales that have been pretty successful with that, but put enough of it in our live sales and do it in a separate ring to where they still have, basically a diverse offering that they can buy if that's what they're after. Monthly and quarterly rhythm. Back to when we started to build these consignment sales, I said, you know what, if we could do 3 a year, that's awesome. I think that'd be great. So that's what we set up for. It was October, December, and March. And then we got done with our March sale, and we're like, well, what are we going to do for 6 months? But in our mind, where I'm at, you can't sell equipment in the summer. Right? That's pretty wrong. And we found out pretty quick how much equipment you can sell in June and July. I mean, it was one of those that we were always told you couldn't do it. So we have built into where we have, like I said, it's usually 5 live sales a year, and then we put the onlines in between. But if you guys building these consignment sales, and I don't know if you guys know Monroe Yoder from up Yoder's Produce or not, but Monroe started doing a consignment sale in Illinois. And he called, he says, what's the best piece of advice you can give me? I said, have your second date ready. He said, well, we want to get through the first one. I said, have your second date ready. We're going to get through the first one. Okay. He called me when he was done. I said, how'd it go? He says, great. I said, what was the biggest question you got? He said, when our next one was. And I said, and guess what? I said, you just stalled the flywheel. And he said, I didn't take you serious. And I said, okay. I said, what would have happened if you'd have said, hey, our next date's this? He goes, I'd have probably had about 30 consignments already. I said, exactly. So at the end of the day, figure out what your business model is, but don't go into it thinking just one. If you're not thinking the second one, you're shooting yourself in the foot and you're dead out of the water right out of the gate. And match the format to the buyers. 100% we look at what we have and how it should be sold. So I have always hung my hat on auctions have 2 major components. Marketing. Anybody else want to get the second one? No wrong answer. This is just my opinion. Second biggest component with auctions, what is it? Organization, customer service, what else? Psychology. Second biggest component in the auction world. Anybody want to dispute it? Tell me one aspect with a buyer and seller that doesn't have something to do with psychology. Not one. From the moment a buyer hits our yard, if we are not hitting their psychological points, if we are not touching them on a psychological basis, we are leaving money on the table. Same with our sellers. Psychology. I would encourage you to dive deep into all aspects of psychology and all of a sudden start to relate it to the auction world. Your greatest bid callers in the world, and I shouldn't say greatest bid callers, your most effective auctioneers in the world understand psychology more than anybody. Know when to push, know when to hold, know when to slow down. Psychology. And there's a lot of different components. So how many of you guys on your consignment sales reorder everything once it comes in? Or do you sell it as it comes in? Do you reorder it? Put it in the sale? Yep. Does everybody else just kind of sell it as it goes? I get it. Labor's tough. Labor's one of the hardest things. Okay? How do we get around it? Because from a psychological standpoint, when I'm coming to buy a mini excavator, if you got 6 acres and they're spread all over, you're not touching me. Well, I got to jump here, and then I got to jump there, and oh, by the way, what's this one look like? What was that one? And I've got to jump back and forth. But the one I want sells fourth, and if I don't get that, I want the one that sells first. There's a psychological sale order. Merchandising, 100%. You know what the other psychological piece of the puzzle is? Is understanding if the skid loader market is flat, you don't start with the skid loaders because your auctioneers are struggling out of the gate. And all of a sudden, who has control? The buyers, not the auctioneer. There's a psychology of selling the right items first to get that sale set up to where the momentum is key. We reorder every sale. We shut down our consignments 9 days before the sale. We reorder every lot. If you don't think that's cumbersome to move that many pieces of equipment, it is. If you don't think that you are putting a pile of dollars in your pocket and your sellers, you're missing the boat. 100% psychology. Maintain auction momentum that way, right? Mr. Buyer standing there, he's got $35,000 to spend on that mini. We've set the market on this one. He didn't get it. It's 42. We've got a buyer in place for the next one. Whoop, he didn't get that one. It was 38. And we've got that momentum, and we can carry that market right down through. So you're not reinventing. Your auctioneers aren't having to think. It's 100% psychology. And you maximize your competition that way. This is one of the most important things to a successful consignment sale. You know why else? When that buyer and that seller pull in, they go, these guys care about what's going on. That seller feels like you're maximizing their value. You set yourself apart. Guys, I know it's tough to do, but if you are holding a consignment sale, there's always a sale order. And if you want to set yourself apart from the competition, show them you care. And show them that you understand what a sale should look like. Sell your best cow first. Sell, yep, 100%. There's times we'll size them out because typically the guy looking for a 12,000-pound machine isn't going to buy an 8,000-pound machine. I mean, usually they're not going to carry over that way. So sometimes we'll size them out, but it's always the best ones first, whether it's in a weight class, whether it's brands. There's a lot of times you'll see in those pictures, we brand them out. Because the guy's buying Kubotas. I mean, there's some crossover, but there's a lot of brand loyalty, but we always sell the best one first. Yep. Anybody ever do a horse race? The question was, when we do an online only, do you extend one, do you extend them all? So like a horse race style finish? Grouping the lots? We've done both. You want to get buyers irate in a hurry, have a big group. Now, I mean, we've done both. And we don't have a business model that's one size fits all. We look at it and say, this set needs to be grouped, or this set doesn't need to be grouped. And there's the software out there, you can do so many different things with it. You can group, Has anybody done a full-fledged horse race style finish? You know what that is? Where you get a bid on one item and every lot in the auction extends. You ever done that? You talk about pulling money out. It's unreal. But you want to talk about getting your tail chewed for 7 days. It's not worth the squeeze in the equipment world, in my mind. Anybody's kids in here show livestock? Showpig.com, yeah, Steer Bidder, Show Circuit. You guys ever participate in those? It's the most frustrating thing in the world, and we keep going back. Yeah, put a T-shirt at the end that brings, yeah, it's amazing. It must be the best sweatshirts in the world because they always bring $125, you know, and I'd like to know where they got shipped to. Uh-huh. But it's bid on one thing and everything extends. There can be 20 pigs in there and it goes till 2 o'clock in the morning. But if you've watched that industry, you are seeing a migration back to the live world because bidders are sick of sitting there until 2 in the morning bidding on that stuff and falling asleep and somebody sniping it off. But yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you want with that. We've sold out several dumpster companies where we will group all the similar size dumpsters together and force the extend to go on to where nothing else can go until that set's done. And it's just a way to level, basically everything brings the same. Nothing falls through the cracks that way. We have grouped certain items. I think it makes sense to do that on certain things. And then there's other sales, it ends as it goes. Everything's individually. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Bidders don't like it. Buyers love it, right? Because it allows you to make a sale order. When you group those 670 combines, most guys had the first one they wanted, they had the second one they wanted, and they knew the third one. So they'd sit there and they'd bid on the first one until it got to their limit, and then you probably saw them jump to the second one, and then it hit their limit, and they jumped to the third one. Well, guess what they did when they were outbid on the third one? Went back to the first one, and it starts right down. That's why that works so well. Yeah, I think it's just item specific as to whether we group it or not, but it definitely has its advantages. Mm-hmm. Yep. Anybody else do that? Okay. So currently we're set up on Auctioneer software. We're in the midst of building more or less a proprietary deal that should be live. And I shouldn't say it's proprietary, but you guys are probably familiar with Rebel. What a monster. Be the same system that they just went to. Yeah, but it's a custom built software. And then we'll use different platforms. We use a couple of the 800-pound gorillas for our live sales. What's that? Octic. Yep, Octic. So is what they went to. Pretty robust platform. Yep. But yeah, I mean, at the end of it, when you're first starting out with this, why wouldn't you use the 800-pound gorillas? Doesn't cost you a whole lot to get to their data. I think it's very important to have a strategy in place with that. Yeah, I'm happy to talk in private about what our strategy is on that. I'm not going to go on record, but so the marketing, again, one of the two key components with an auction. You're only as good as what your marketing is. Consistent branding. If they can't look at an ad and not see your logo and not know what it is, you failed. If they can't look at it and know what you are doing just by the image of it, you have failed. Repeat bidder engagement, that's what it comes down to. I'm not interested in selling you one thing. I want to sell you one thing every 6 months. Create the experience to make them want to come back. Experience, experience, experience. That's what it's based off of. Why, especially for those of us who love the live auction world, why is it the Barrett Jacksons are so successful? They're not building an auction. They're building an experience. Every one of your sales, whether it's a household event, whether it's a equipment sale, whether it's a real estate, if you're not driven to build an experience for those bidders, they're not coming back. They want an experience. The auction's almost a lost leader for like a Barrett Jackson. Building trust through transparency, separating seller and buyer-based marketing. To me, it's never the same. Your message needs to be different. That's how we operate. We are, and I know we're running close on time or we need to quit here, but post-auction review. So many times this is where we fail. Got done with the sale, 95% success rate, we're out the door, and what do we forget to do? Debrief. Because if you're not keeping track of your data as to what was good and what was bad, you're not tracking cycles. You're not tracking cycles. We look at everything as far as our sell-through analysis, what we need to change there, buyer and seller feedback. Did we screw up somewhere? If you're scared to ask your seller and buyers if you screwed up somewhere, you know you screwed up somewhere. 100%. If you're not willing to take that feedback, you got ways to improve. And then the last thing on there is category performance. We always track based on categories, how it did and what we need to do. Turning buyers into sellers, follow-up strategies, fleet turnover opportunities. Somebody just bought something, they've got something to sell. Get a hold of it, capture it. Those long-term relationships. The other piece of the pie that we added here in the last 2 years is offering trade-ins. Your end-all user, why do they go to a dealership? It's easy for them to trade in. They don't have to come up with all the money. They've got value in an asset that they no longer need. We started offering trade-ins. Guess what that did? It built us buyers, end-user buyers. It filled our pipeline. Bingo. And we're offering the same service as a dealer. Now, I mean, there's some moving pieces and parts, and the worst part about it is when somebody comes in and says, hey, I just bought that excavator, I need to trade mine in. I want $100,000. Well, it's probably worth 60. Those conversations need to happen ahead of time. But the trade-ins, huge piece of our puzzle. And this has correlated over into our real estate world. You ever had somebody want to trade in their house? We're seeing more and more of it. I've got equity built in this. I just want an easy flow. How can I get out of my house? Well, we can auction it for you. I don't want to wait 8 weeks. Okay. We can list it for you. No, I don't want to deal with the inspections. Okay. We can buy it from you. How much? We're going to make money on you. That's okay. I want ease. We're trading in real estate now. It's a pretty cool piece of the pie. But equipment has been good to us because it's building that pipeline early. Scaling, intentional expansion. Protect execution quality, build brand reputation, scale when you have to, not when your ego wants to. Do you guys remember when we had our sale down here in Winchester, Kentucky? Yep. There's a world of potential sitting in Winchester, Kentucky. Now, we learned a lot. I seeded that first sale down with some of the best equipment that has come through Winchester, Kentucky in a long time. And then we got a bunch of consignments out of the coal hills. And I went, oh my goodness, what are we doing here? This thing's a monster. Nobody can move it. It's got 22,000 hours. Nobody's going to want to buy this thing. And we fired that sale up and started on that good equipment. And they looked at us like we had two heads. I'm not buying that stuff. Skeptical of it. And we got to the coal equipment, and you'd have thought it was the last stuff for sale in the world. I mean, fighting over it. Had our eyes opened up. If we had the right boots on the grounds, we'd still be having sales in Winchester, Kentucky, but I never had the right boots there. Guys, I can tell you how much opportunity your state has in equipment. That's just scratching Winchester, Kentucky. How close are we to Nashville? I'm in the epicenter of activity right now. I understand. I don't want to. Yes. Why don't you take a map? Nashville, St. Louis, start looking at your major cities. Guess what's sitting right in the middle of them? An agriculturally based community of farmers that are long tenured and have a pile of equipment. You want to get me excited? I'd love to partner with somebody down there in an area like that, because I think there's more opportunity in a square right now there than anywhere in the country. And if you don't think I'm right, drive up and down those roads and start counting commission. There's a lot of it. There's more opportunity in Kentucky right now than most areas, I would tell you, that I have seen. So as far as scaling when you need to and when your ego wants to, we had Worcester, Ohio going so well. We're going to scale. We're going to build this monster. We knew the lot was available there at Winchester. We started to have some sales there, and every time we had one, we had to gut our office in Worcester to come down here and put sales on. And guess what we did? We tripped over what was working in Worcester. And why'd we do it? My ego wanted to. I want to expand. I want more sales. This is what we're going to do. Very humbling when I got to the end of the second one. I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm costing myself money at home. Someday there'll be a day I have to. I don't need to. At the end of the day, I was doing less work and making more money. Someday there'll be another lot if I need it. But so much of it's ego-driven and not rational. So, key takeaways: portfolios are built intentionally. Guys, do not react. Be proactive on this. Build your this is how you build your reputation. This is how you build your future. This is, at the end of the day, this is how I build my kids' future. And if not, I'm building a sellable product, right? If they don't want it, fine, no problem. I'll sell it when I'm done. But at the end of it, if you're not intentionally building these portfolios of equipment, all you're doing is restarting that flywheel every time. Relationships fuel growth, and every auction should be easier than the last. How many times do you get done with an auction? It's like, why was that so hard? Shouldn't be. If your processes aren't created to get easier every time, you're missing the boat. Every sale should be easier than the last sale. So, any questions? Yes, sir. Yep. So do we sell equipment remotely? We do. I don't like to get into it a lot. Now, there's business models that work really good that way. The seller's got a lot of skin in the game if he's got to get it to me. Pretty good chance he's going to sell it. If it's remote, and you can see certain platforms, when it's remote, the sell-through rate stinks. But there's certain companies that have done an excellent job with it. Out of all the pieces we sell, there won't be 10 at every sale that are remote. But the conversation's done ahead of time. Ironically, I've never no-saled a piece that was remote. Never. But there's those conversations ahead of time, just making sure that the job will get done. Yep. Any other questions? Good deal. I got you guys asleep. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys having me down. It's always good to be in Kentucky. Like I said, take it. Hopefully you picked up something that you can use, whether it's in equipment, whether it's in personal property. There's a lot of this stuff that correlates over to our real estate and firearms department. But at the end of the day, guys, you're going to get out what you put into it. That's just the nature of the beast. If you leave here today and don't change a thing, that's fine. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. But regardless of what you do, the more you dig in, not just in Kentucky, but in the world right now, there has never been less competition. Because how many people want to work? You saddle up, boys, I'm telling you, and girls, there is a world of opportunity in the auction profession. And at the end of the day, you can build it as big as you want to build it. And the equipment world has so much opportunity. So, thanks for coming. I'm here all day if anybody has any questions or like to talk.